going live. We are live, it looks like. And we got a pretty fun Chaos Locals tonight. So welcome to the stream. If you're new here, I'm a channel that goes through the historical formats of Yu-Gi-Oh's TCG. And this week, we're covering Chaos format. And I mean, more than a week, we're going to be covering Chaos format. But for this week's Locals, we hold small local tournaments every week. We are covering Chaos because there's a bigger tournament starting tomorrow for the monthly, which will be multi-day. So that should be a lot of fun. But this one will be a smaller single elimination tournament to sort of prepare for that. And it should be a good time. So we got a good lineup of people here. We are going to be starting, I think now. Yeah, let's just start now. Let us, I'll just say looks good. Starting now. I think we got everyone in there. So let us start this thing off. So let's start the tournament. Here we go. Oh, wait. Snack wants to join. No, it is not too late for you to join. Okay, glad I saw that. At Snack, join here. Interested. Yeah, so nope, you're still good. I didn't start yet. I was about to start. Yeah, you're literally right on time. I was about to start, and whew, okay, glad we got that in there. Yeah. Oh, that would have been unfortunate, but luckily we were able to fit you in there. And if anyone out there in the YouTube chat wants to join as well, there is still just a little bit of time. These are more casual locals, so we are a bit more loose with that. And so, if you're watching this and you want to play, then there is still time for that. But there won't be much time yet. There's only like a minute left. Yeah, so basically after Snack joins, if no one else has said anything, then yeah, we'll be starting. But yeah, so glad to get you in here. Snack is a prolific Edison duelist. And they've got a good channel, Crow's Nest, where they do analytical breakdowns of that sort of thing. So check out that channel if you're interested. But it'll be cool to have them in the Chaos format tournament as well. We got a bunch of other great Chaos players here as well. If you saw the last Chaos Locals, then you know how intense this format can be. And it should be a fun time to seeing these people match up. That's not the final listings. As once the tournament starts, we'll be shuffling up the seeds and things. But it should be pretty fun. And if you're curious about what Chaos format is, I did release a guide to it earlier today, I guess, technically, depending on your time zone. And it's about 2.5 hours. I just go through all the cards in Invasion of Chaos in great detail, talking about where they can be used and things like that. Yeah. So definitely check that out if you are interested. And also we have a monthly tournament. If you're not able to, play right now, we do have a tournament starting tomorrow that, we'll have 48-hour rounds. So it should be a bit more doable for a lot of people, even if you've got a busier schedule. So it should be a lot of fun. Join the YGO from Zero Discord server if you are interested in that. Link in the description of this stream. And it should be a lot of fun. So let's see. It looks like Snack is registered, so that should be good. Let me just check the bracket to make sure that makes sense. Let's do that. And I'm just going to check the bracket to see if Colgate is in, because Deal With It said that they wanted to join as well. Yep, they are indeed in. Okay, now we can start. There we go. And I'll do a bit of a start here. So last call for anyone who still wants to play, but yeah, we're gonna start now. Let's get going. We're gonna start the locals because the bigger tournament is starting tomorrow. And damn it. Gosh darn it, Food, that rascal likes to mess up the start of this sort of thing. But we're gonna start now, and we're gonna start the locals there. And we are going to just, seed by format lottery. It doesn't really matter the seeding here. What matters is the gameplay, and we're going to get into some great games here. So yeah, we are getting started here. That bracket might be a little bit outdated, but this one should be good. And there you go. So we got some fun matches here. Looks like Food has a bye. Their reward for, getting in and messing up the start of the tournament, I guess. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So Let's just take a peek, see who's doing what here. These are all three locals games here. 4 locals games, so whichever one we see starting first, we'll just dive into that and see how it goes. But it should be pretty good. Formats here are a lot of fun. Or this format's really cool. So let's see what History of YGO1 and Exile Angmar Sorcerer is playing. And they're going to dive into a tie here, rocks, and then Angmar will indeed win the rock, paper, scissors. So they will be going first here. And we've got, or I assume they're going first. They could potentially pick second. That is a possibility as well. But, I should dive in to the general chat here. I like to be here in case anyone, wants to join and discuss the locals here. So yeah, Snack says this will be my first ever game of Chaos format LOL, and I hope it's a good one. This format is really fun. I mean, there's a lot of like very sacky cards in it as well. So if you go into it with that mindset where like you can get a bit blown out, it's a lot of fun, I think. I actually recently just played my first game in this format, in preparation for the guide and like just to get a taste of it. And it was a blast. So we see Delinquent Duo coming down here, hitting a Reasoning and a Dark Magician and Chaos getting discarded there. Yeah, if you've got Dark Magician and Chaoses, you might as well do that. And Forceful getting fired afterwards. I like this because, you're taking away the best card in their hand after the discards. So even if Angmar hit the Pot of Greed first with the Duo, they could have picked another thing instead after with the Forceful. And they got a Grateful Charity on top of this. And, speaking of getting sacked, this is a good indication of what a sacking could look like. So we see History of YGO1 really struggling here, down to 2 cards in hand. Angmar gets a ton of draws off the Graceful. They're pitching 2 lights, though. That's kind of interesting. Normally, you'd want to pitch a light and a dark. Also, you'd probably want to keep BLS in hand most of the time, because BLS is a super powerful card. But Confiscation coming down here for History of YGO1 that will pitch a Rhoda from the hand. I'm not sure if that's the best trade or not, but it is what it is. MST here hitting the Premature Burial, aiming to get back the Dark Magician of Chaos. And it looks like History of YGO1 is just going to set 1 and pass back to Angmar. Looks like it is a spy, because Angmar did note that they had Premature Burial and Gravekeeper's Spy there. And it looks like they're just going to pass back to History of YGO1. Looks like they don't have a way to deal with the Gravekeeper's Spy. Gravekeeper's Spy going to flip itself up. Solemn Judgment coming down. Okay, that explains why they just let the spy go through. That is a very good use of Judgment, I think. Judgment is a very risky card in this format, because you can just drop so low, and if your opponent is on Chaos Emperor Dragon, it can just completely destroy you and burn that last bit of damage. Oh, and we're getting the Yata Lock as well. Wow, that was a wild game. I mean, Yata was banned for a reason, and yeah, that was pretty wild. So cool to see there. Glad we got that quick sort of game on camera to capture, what the sort of big blowout of it can look like. Let's dive in to Dump Truck versus Rain Dance now, just see what they're on. We see Magician of Faith coming down here for the Change of Heart and getting back that Change of, or I assume the Change of Heart. Yeah, that's the only spell engrave. Very good card, and Magician of Faith is a very good monster in this format. It is a light for your Chaos monsters. And that's pretty good. It can get back power spells as well. So DD Warrior Lady flipping up as well, attacking in for 1800. And this looks to be a bit more of a close game. Looks like a Painful was fired and sent a ton of powerful spells and cards for Dump Truck there. So yeah, we're just getting caught up with what happened. Call was probably sent off duo. Yeah, Call and Warrior Lady were probably sent off duo, I think. Oh, I see. Change of Heart was fired on the Faith. And they were able to take that over, get a powerful card from their graveyard as opposed to Dump Truck getting a powerful card from theirs. Dark Hole getting fired here, hitting the Faith and the Warrior Lady. Now, Dump Truck does have a Light and Dark in graveyard if they do want to go for a Chaos Monster. And that is something you have to keep in mind for this format. You always got to pay attention to the Lights and Darks. So they are going to do that. They're going to bring up Chaos Emperor Dragon. It looks like they are going to fire it with Prio. And that is very, very, dangerous for Rain Dance potentially, but it also puts both players in top deck mode here, which is a bit risky for Dump Truck too, because Rain Dance has got the sort of priority here. They draw first in this sort of upcoming trade. So very interesting play on Dump Truck's part. They must not have like too much there, or they want to get rid of the Change of Heart. But it looks like they are just going to try and go for Prio here. Rain Dance is thinking here. Not really much to think about, I think. If you have Solemn, you basically have to do it before they get a chance to call Prior or not. I mean, it wouldn't really matter here that much, but a ring is coming down on the Chaos Emperor Dragon. That is pretty wild. It does drop down Dump Truck to 1200, also drops Rain Dance down to 5000, and then that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think. 7 times, so 2100 points of damage. Yep, and that will be 2100 points of damage that Rain Dance will take there. And it was probably the right play to do that. You get Dump Truck down really low. A top deck can potentially end the game here. And this makes sense why Dump Truck went for the CD. They did have Sinister Serpent, so they'll be able to get that back. But it is a little bit risky here. You might want to potentially save CD for a finisher as opposed to sort of this boss monster now. I guess there weren't too many monsters in Grave to like reborn. I guess you could have reborned a DD Warrior Lady and, you know, attacked in, crashed, banished. But yeah, it's a bit interesting there. Looks like we're getting Rain Dance drawn here. Let's see what they get. They're going to set another, so they're not drawing any monsters to really capitalize on this sort of thing. And Dump Truck might want to consider just flipping up the Serpent and attacking in. Oh, looks like they got a Spy, so that is even better than the Serpent. Be able to get out another Spy from deck here, go for 2400, drop Rain Dance down really, really low. And, you know, we could be nearing the end game here. So these guys are going to attack in. It looks like Rain Dance will take it. Looks like they probably don't have like a Mirror Force or something like that. Dump Truck's going to set a card. We know the Serpent is left in hand. MST coming down on the set card. It's Raigeki Break. That would have paired really well with Serpent. But, you know, Rain Dance did, you know, heads up, make the play like I need to stop that back row if I want a chance of winning this. And so they did do that. And it looks like Raigeki coming down here as well, so that will clear the board there. But Rain Dance is still in a very, very dangerous situation. The Serpent in hand will be able to be summoned and hit in for 300. And Dump Truck might need to do that. I mean, there are 2 Warrior Ladies in Graveyard, which means that it's less likely that Rain Dance will draw the third one. Change of Heart should just be the end of the game here. Unless that's like a Thousand Eyes Idol or something. But yeah, yep, that is the end of the game there. And that was the first game. So I'm glad we got to show off Chaos Emperor Dragon doing his thing here, ending a game, as that is an iconic part of this format. So let's dive into the next game we got here. We got Colgate. Oh, that's inciting. Let's dive into the next game here. I like to jump around and just show off what's going on during the siding and just see what everyone's on. That's also inciting there. So looks like, you know, these games are going relatively quick. You know, and that's part of the fun of Chaos. You know, they're relatively quick games. And, ooh, this is a bit spicy. We see Hoy on, it looks like a Gravekeeper strategy. Droid's got a Kaiku up. Now, Kaiku won't be able to banish under Necro Valley, but Necro Valley and Kaiku will both prevent the other players from actually going for their Chaos monsters, which is why Gravekeepers could potentially be an off-meta strategy there. So, we'll have to see what happens here. And, you know, Droid is switching the Kaiku to attack. It looks like Gravekeeper's Assailant tried to attack into Kaiku, used its effect to switch to defense, and the Mirror Force popped the Assailant. Assailant is also an interesting card in this format. Call of the Hand can't be used here. So, yeah, I mean, they'll probably catch that, but, like, I mean, if they don't, then I'll send them a message. I have faith that they'll catch that, but, yeah, they can't use it here because Necro Valley does shut that off. Yep, and Hoy says nope. So it looks like they did indeed catch that. So the game state didn't like change or anything. But yeah, that's one of the other powerful reasons why Necro Valley can be very good. It shuts down a lot of powerful cards like Monster Reborn, like Premature Burial, like Call of the Haunted. And yeah, so Necro Valley, very interesting card. And I think as an anti-meta pick, Gravekeepers could potentially be a good choice. But yeah, we also see Io up as well. Did that get hand ripped? It did not get hand ripped. So it might have gotten breakered or MST'd potentially. Those are both very good options for that. Yeah, and it looks like the Kaiku attacking in here again for 1800. It looks like nope, they will not get to banish either because the Necro Valley does shut that down. Yeah, Necro Valley is quite a card. It shuts down a lot of things. In Chaos format, it doesn't shut down things like, you know, Sinister Serpent adding itself back to hand, because Sinister Serpent is affecting itself, and the way that Necro Valley works is it doesn't really care about cards that affect themselves. But that's really the only instance where that would come up is the Sinister Serpent. Vampire Lord also doesn't prevent from coming back. So, you know, that's good to know about if you do encounter Necro Valley. But, yeah, this is kind of a rare card. Maybe we'll see more play as people start to reevaluate this format and dive into it more. I definitely do want to test Gravekeepers in this format. I do think that it's a very interesting option. We saw how good that deck could be in Yata format, because in Yata, it did win a tournament. To be fair, that was piloted by the great Alfia 2, who is an excellent deck builder in a variety of these retro formats, and, is just a very, very good player, especially in, Yata, because they've won, like, every Yata tournament I think that they've joined, they've won, which is very exciting. It looks like, okay, I thought this one was telling me that they had finished a game, but it looks like that's not the case. But yeah, this is going to be a very rough spot for Hoy to get out of there. At 1600, Kaiku is annoying, and yep, that will just be the end of the game. So that is one of the flaws of Gravekeepers. I think it can't really get that aggressive. It can shut things down like the Chaos Monsters, but beyond that, it can't really do too much. Let's dive into Patrick Star versus Vatos. Looks like Patrick Star is on a very interesting deck here, and they did win the first game. Oh, wow, Serpentine Princess. That's very interesting. I mean, that is anti-Fiber Jar tech, potentially. It could also mean that they're on a deck playing Monster Recovery as well, and that will also shuffle things into the deck. But Serpentine Princess, if you've never seen it, it says if this face-up card is returned from the field to your deck, select and special summon one level 3 or lower monster from your deck to your side of the field, then shuffle your deck. So in certain strategies, very high rolly strategies or combo-oriented strategies, this card can potentially see play. But it's a very interesting deck. Doesn't really see play that often, but very cool to see it here. It also has 2,000 defense and can be brought out off of something like Mother Grizzly, so that's an option for water-focused decks. Very easy to have access to this card, and it's just very interesting. So I'm glad we get to show it off here. Let's see what Vatos does. Now, Vatos probably knows what Patrick Star is on, given that one game has gone by here. This is the second game of the match. Looks like Snatch Fuel getting fired on the Serpentine Princess here, taking control of it, choosing not to just crash in with the Warrior Lady and banish it. So they'll take control of that. They're going to attack in for 2,900 total, choosing not to flip up the set. I mean, could mean the set is something like a Magician of Faith or something like that. Yo, Justin Lindfors, welcome to the stream. We got some great Chaos games here. Very, very interesting decks so far. So we'll have to see how they go beyond that. And of course, Snatch Steal will boost Patrick Star's life points by 1,000. And we'll have to see what they do here. Now, unfortunately for Vatos, Serpentine Princess is very easily clearable. If Patrick Star has a monster to hit over it themselves, Serpentine Princess will indeed be able to crash into it if they so choose. Or if they have the read that the set is a Fiber Jar, then attacking into the Fiber Jar will actually let Patrick Star summon out 2 monsters from deck. So that is very funny as well. But definitely an interesting game state here. Let's see what they do. Patrick Star is going to think about it. They're thinking hard. And it is an important sort of turn, it looks like. You've already committed Serpentine Princess, so you gotta do something with that, probably. But I'm wondering what exactly they're thinking about. Probably just crashing or attacking into the set. Now, if you crash here, that's a bit bad because Vatos then sort of has the tempo. Oh, it looks like they're going for Monster Recovery. So they will be able to pull off the Serpentine Princess combo there. So they're shuffling everything back into the deck. Then they can special summon out a level 3 monster. And, it's cool that we have this Serpentine Princess here. Shuffle it and... Oh, just the entire hand. Okay. So that's interesting. I thought it was entire field as well. But just the hand and the monster. Looks like they're bringing out a Scientist here. Now, Scientist, beyond just being used for a potential OTK or FTK, can just be good at clearing this board up. If you bring out a Dark Balter attack over the Warrior Lady, that's pretty good. Looks like Drag Down into the Grave is getting fired here, so that will pitch a Legendary Ocean from the hand. And, Patrick Star will get to see Vatos' hand here, rip out the best card among them. So that's not bad for Patrick Star, but it seems like Patrick Star is on sort of an all-in Scientist FTK deck. That's really the only sort of deck that you'd see things like Reload, like Monster Recovery, like Legendary Ocean. Your goal is to get Scientist, get Catapult Turtle out on field, and then burn your opponents for their entire life savings. Now, the issue here for Patrick Star is that even if they get out a Catapult Turtle this turn, they don't quite have lethal. Hello, welcome, Blah. Happy to have you here. What was the result of your game?
Lost to Yata. Both
Okay.
losses.
Yeah, we did
beat him
catch the
once.
first game of that match, and that was rough.
Yeah.
Zuna Gaiden just had like everything there.
Oh, he had everything again for game 3. If I set the card, he MST'd it, but he sentry'd it back to the deck. Summon Kaiku, change of heart to one of my Demox. I lost them both, and then he Yata'd me the next turn.
I mean, that's the difficult thing about Democ. I've heard some players comment about just in discussing this format where if you don't win the turn you summon out your Demox, you can be in a tough spot because your opponent can potentially take advantage of it for themselves. But Democ is still a cool deck, so I'm glad to see you repping it.
It's pretty powerful, yes. And if I weren't facing someone who played in a more classic way, I probably would have won that one.
Well, I mean, that depends. And I mean, Democ has its ups and downs, but yeah, I think like in general, you can't really look at you know, the what ifs. You just have to look at the games you play and sort of draw conclusions from that. But it looks like this is a very interesting turn for Patrick Star here. It looks like they're going all in on these fusions, just trying to clear up the entire board here. So Balter hits in to Warrior. Oh, it's hitting into the set, not the Warrior Lady. Saying it's fine if you banish one of my monsters. These are from the extra deck anyways, I guess. So very interesting there. So hits into a Shining Angel, probably good to get rid of. That way Vatos doesn't get another Shining Angel. Dark Flare Knight attacking the Warrior Lady there. Saying, I'm fine if you banish this. And it looks like Vatos is going to indeed banish that, get that out of the extra deck. It just deprives Patrick Star of a potential, basically 50 damage off a Catapult Turtle. So, you never know when that might come up. But yeah, very interesting game here. And this is sort of how the Scientist deck has to pivot if they don't draw their combo. They've sort of got to play Scientist, just being a good card to clean up your opponent's board and try and buy time until you can potentially pull off your combo in some way. As a note here, Patrick Star does know 2 cards in Vatos' hand. So they know some of what they have to play around, but it is still a worrying situation for them. DL with it says, Soul Resolve CED versus me for 6,000 damage after my Cyberjar Resolve. Lamau. Oh, wow. That is very, very funny. And I mean, yeah, that is one of the powerful things about CED. If your opponent is up on cards, it can be really, really good. Edge Hosenga says, have double Yata Lock, blah. And yeah, Yata is a powerful card. I mean, as we saw earlier in the stream. But it looks like Vatos is hitting in for 14 with the Shining Angel after the Sangan hits over the Scientist. And this is a really rough position for Patrick Star to be in, because they likely don't really have too much going on in their hand. And that's part of the issue with these sort of all-in combo decks as well, is that, after they've sort of exhausted a lot of their resources, they have a real tough time clawing their way back into the game. Reborn will help, though. So Reborn is bringing out something, but honestly, it's kind of awkward. Yeah, you just got to bring out the Serpentine Princess. In an ideal world, you'd bring out Scientist and bring out Balter, but you're at 1700, so you can't bring out 2 and clear their board entirely. And so you just got to wall up. Charity here, too. Very, very good card this format. I mean, they've already got the Chaos typing on board, but if they want to pitch more Chaos things, they can. They can pitch a Scientist of their own and a Delinquent Duo. Yeah, Delinquent Duo is pretty dead here. Scientist is sort of an interesting pitch because Scientist can clear Princess. You just bring it. Oh, well, Change of Heart will also do the job. So yeah, Change of Heart should probably be the end of the game here, I think. Patrick Star's thinking, though, so they might have like a Solemn set or a Jammer or something like that. Yeah. Justin Lynn first says, when is 7 stars monsters become relevant? And I'd say that, like, in certain jank strategies, they already somewhat are. Like, Reasoning is in this format, and because Democ is around, everyone's going to call 8. So, you could potentially play a Reasoning deck, playing the 7-star monsters, like potentially Barrel Dragon, Guardian Angel Drone, things like that. And you could potentially make a deck like that. I don't think that deck is the best because it is very bricky and stuff like that, but it is an option you could do. So also Daedalus is in this format, Levia Sea Dragon Daedalus. And that is a 7-star monster, so good to know. Monster recovery here being used as sort of like interruption, which is very interesting to see. But that will keep Patrick Star potentially alive here. Unfortunately, the Serpentine Princess is a level 4, not a level 3. But oh, they're choosing to bring out the Gill Source in attack mode. I don't think that's the best option, but it won't matter here either way. But yeah, with the Gill Source in attack mode, Vatos can just crash the Angel in and get another light. But yeah, it wouldn't matter here either way because if it was in defense, then they'd still be losing to that board. But
about the reasoning question earlier by Mr. Linfors, that's his name, yes. In earlier formats and experimentation, Colgate and Soul were doing reasoning for Yata, and Beryl Dragon was being used for Machine OTK using the reasoning engine.
yeah, but again, just like with the reasoning decks that I mentioned here, it's debatable how good that actually is. But welcome Colgate. Heard, I mean that CED, that is the stuff of legends. That amount of damage there.
It was the fun.
DCG?
You know what the funniest part
Oh.
is? You know the funniest part is that both of us had CED. So if he wasn't gonna do it, I was gonna do it. And then I ended up losing to Fiber Jar Beats because none of us had anything, and I had 1,000 life points.
That is very funny. And honestly, like, that's the interesting thing about playing Chaos format. Like, if you go back at the time, right, and you're in a tournament setting at the time, right, like, of course there's frustration there because this is the high levels of tournament play, and you're forced into playing the specific deck, you're forced into playing these cards, and they can end degenerately. And, like, if you've spent this money on buying your deck, you've spent the time entering this big tournament and stuff like that, it can be very frustrating to have the metagame like that. But in a retro sense, and this is a sort of thing that I like about a lot of my retro exploration here. In a retro sense, you're choosing to play the format, so you know what you're getting into when you pick to play Chaos. And I think that going into it with that mindset can really help make the games a lot more fun. And you're just playing around with such powerful cards that you don't get to play around with basically any other time in the game's history, and that is very, very fun to do. Also, I want to talk about some comments here, because Steven Eurosovic left a very, very nice comment here for me. They said, I finished your new video. You should be proud that hundreds of people would choose to watch a 2.5-hour video where you talk about Ultra Evolution Pill and other jank over watching a full-length movie. And I am extremely proud, and I'm extremely grateful that y'all are watching these and, building this community and just diving into these formats with me. It's both pride and also just gratitude for all of you out there. And also, the ones playing the locals, the ones joining the tournaments as well in the Discord. Like, we've built a great community here, and it's not just me, it's also all of you out there as well. So I just wanted to highlight that comment as it was very, very nice.
Wait, speaking about Ultra Evolution Peel real quick, I just want to say thank you for mentioning Sinister Serpent for it, because I feel like when you did, my brain just expanded. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Wait
well,
a minute.
it was funny because in preparation for that, I when a card mentions things like, pyros or reptiles or something, I generally look up all the reptiles and pyros that are legal for this format and see what actually makes sense. And I wasn't even thinking about Sinister Serpent because I always think of it like a sea serpent. But it actually is a reptile. So I was like, damn, that's actually a pretty neat combo. You can turn on your Ultra Evolution Pill pretty well.
Yeah.
And
Instead of going -2 to summon a monster, you only go -1.
exactly, unfortunately, the dinosaurs are kind
Best
of rough.
use.
I mean, Justin Lindfors asked, better question, when is the first 7-star meta monster? And unfortunately, Black Tyranno, I'm pretty sure is a level 7, but it's not very good. And honestly, that's an interesting question for meta level 7s. I think
I mean, it
Well,
has to be like Daedalus, right?
yeah,
Daedalus wasn't
well, it
meta.
depends on who you ask, because meta is it varies from person to person. Like, some people will view that as playable, that you could build a deck around, and you could definitely build a deck around Daedalus. You could build a deck around Barrel Dragon, Machine Reasoning in Yata, for instance.
Yeah,
But
that's your answer, by the way.
well, I'm still thinking. I'm talking through it.
Yeah, I know. That's your answer. Critter format Classic had a Barrel Dragon deck that's
I
centered
wouldn't call
around
that as
summoning
meta.
that.
But
Not trust.
meta
Barrel
for the
Dragon.
that's why
time.
that's why I'm discussing my reasoning for this answer here, because there are people who would definitely think that, and like I'm not trying to discredit their opinion. That's their opinion. But if we're talking about like competitively viable, like good stuff, I wouldn't necessarily classify Barrel Dragon as that. Maybe Dark Magician if you're classifying it in that sort of way. But okay, it looks like C-Spare lost their match, so that means that Patrick Starr will be moving on because C-Spare is
Okay,
Vatos, so that's Tocqueville.
theoretically, if you think about it, the very first format wasn't that the one where Blah won a local with like
with
Blue Eyes?
Yeah.
Blue Eyes
So like
level 8.
theoretically, and we were theorizing how like Dark Magician might be even better because it plays around Dragon Capture Jar. So if you want to take that into account, level
Blah actually sided in Dark Magician because
Yeah,
he's
that's
playing
true.
Blue Eyes. And
so
then
level 7s were always meta.
yeah.
We just didn't know it.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there are people out there who don't view that as an actual, meta format. So, like if we're talking about, the formats that people play as like limited formats, right? Not the unlimited formats, which, I personally count the unlimited formats as formats because I cover them on the channel. I view those as formats. But if we're talking about the formats that people play like in a retro sense, and if we're talking about like meta as being like tier 1 basically, then that's a bit of a trickier question. Yeah, and Justin Linford says I define meta as competitive decks like top tournament, so let's restrict that.
It's like Dark Arm Dragon, right? Like that's the first
Well,
like good level 7.
see,
That's before Synchros.
that's why I'm trying to think about this, because that's definitely a later one, but I'm trying to think what might be before it. It's definitely a tricky question. Level 7 is very awkward in terms of leveling in the game's history because 2 tributes, right?
Wait. Oh no, Demise is level 8. Never mind.
Yeah.
If we talk about the OCG, it's actually pretty simple.
Well, yeah,
Dark
but the OCG
Magician
also had
I know.
junior rules for a while, so
Yeah, no, even official rules.
Junior
Dark
Immediately
Magician and Gaia the Fierce Knight, the best level 7 monsters.
well, yes, but again, that's not using the same rules as we potentially use here, which is why
here
the
it took
TCG
like
the
a
rules.
decade.
and the
Regardless.
TCG, in the OCG, yeah, but on my channel we generally focus on the TCG here, and I think Justin Lindfors is asking about the TCG.
I know. I'm saying if we were talking about that.
Yeah.
I prefaced it for
Yeah.
a reason.
Yeah, but it's interesting to think about. Just trying to think through. So
Hi, Addison McGee. It's Blah.
oh, hello.
Colgate
Yes,
is
Addison
the
McGee,
excited one.
I'm chatting with a variety of people who played in the locals here. I basically, for these locals, I just host them on my Discord server, which is in the link in the description of the video. And basically just, after people play, I invite them just to come on the stream if they want to talk about it, and just discuss the format and the games and things like that. So I'm chatting with a variety of people who play it. I'm chatting with Discord users, Blah, Colgate, Food. These are people, who played in the tournaments and, are around in the community and stuff. So, yeah, but, it's not exclusive. If you want to dive into the Discord, dive on the chat, you can definitely do that as well. I feel like this is a good sort of thing to do, like just to build community and stuff, even further. So yeah, but it's interesting. I'm trying to think like
TCG.
No,
Yeah,
there's
about
just
that answer. TCG is probably Dark Arm Dragon.
well, that's why I'm trying to think about before then if there's anything. But
okay. So theoretically, like you would include Last Warrior from Another Planet and like
I wouldn't include
maybe
that
some
as
deck?
meta in terms of topping tournaments.
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Stein.
Yeah.
It's a Stein
Yeah.
target. It's in the
Yeah, but you don't
fusion
use
deck of
Stein
the
to bring
time.
out Warrior, right? As your main combo.
You do sometimes.
Sometimes, but I said as
If
your
you
main
have
combo.
to.
Like
very rarely.
yeah. Tom Sedson.
Should I stop my opponent from summoning, or should I just destroy them into the sun with Cyber Twin?
If you can.
Yep, Food,
It's like a
Food is
defensive
also
move
chatting here as well.
to do that.
But yeah, we are maybe.
Oh.
No, I was thinking Twin
Someone
Thunder
has a
Dragon
cute
for a second, but
voice.
that's not really meta either. That's just in certain fusion decks. But
Well,
yeah, I can't
I
think
mean,
of any.
So,
even
yeah.
like Lad is level 8, right?
Lad is level
So,
8, I
yeah.
believe. Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
warrior on for
Has to be.
emergencies. But the first really central one for the TCG is Dark Arm Dragon.
Yeah. That I'm rolling through my head, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also
It-
thinking
It's just
about
dark.
that. What are the levels?
Because
of,
like level
Cyberpunk?
level 6 is way easier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
just
level
monarchs.
7
Right?
is
You might
Actually,
also
no,
have.
no.
It's
Level
just
6 is
Jinzo,
not
yeah.
monarchs.
You're
Do
right.
I
It's
Yeah.
not
remember
Jin.
the levels?
I mean, if we're talking
what?
about like
Mhm.
oldest in like Yugi Kaiba, then it's technically Summon Skull. But I
You're
mean,
right.
That's level
Jin-
6.
yeah,
So, fun
Yeah.
fact:
but
Summon
Jinzo
Skull
is
is level
definitely better.
7 in the manga.
No. Well,
Guy of the
Oh,
Fierce
yeah, I
Knight
remember
was level
that.
6.
Which does make more sense.
is King Dragoon level 6 or level 7? That's
Oh, that's
kind of,
level 7.
Oh,
That's kind of also a
Yeah.
weird,
Dragoon.
like, sort of Stein situation. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure I'd count that.
Yeah. Every time I read King Dragoon, I'm like, that card is like insane, right? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
in certain decks, like I wouldn't call. So there are some like rogue goat decks that do play Dragoon.
wait, is Labyrinth Tank technically is that level 7?
Yeah, it is level 7. Yeah. So
I
It
mean,
is.
it has a deck and it won a critter
it
tournament.
did top. Yeah.
yeah.
But
I guess
Uh,
historically it wasn't meta, but
yeah, but
with
Um,
hindsight,
That's why I talked about Barrel Dragon. I was speaking in a historical context.
yeah, but I
Yeah,
think even
sure, it's
historically,
Playground
I wouldn't-
Yu-Gi-Oh, and
like,
people weren't
the
really.
issue with historical is that there's so little documentation. That
We know about the Barrel Dragon deck.
Yeah, but I don't think
That's
it
on
meta.
Pojo.
Like, did it win a tournament
Yeah, it is.
back then? That's something.
Could not tell you, but it existed.
Yeah, but jank decks
a lot of
exist
things
too.
existed.
Like, just because
Not
they
a
exist
lot of
doesn't mean it's
things.
meta.
Chaos
which is-
Chaos Ojama existed probably.
Yeah. Like, yeah. So I don't know if I count, but yeah,
Listen, my Black Skull Dragon Turbo in Critter will destroy everybody.
well, that's level
Like,
9, so
true.
you're
Now,
boosting up the
it
level.
doesn't work.
It's
The
wild
first
to
level
me.
9 meta.
Something I didn't realize until I started going through these
EJ1.
formats is that it takes a while for there to be a level 8 fusion monster introduced into the game. Which is crazy because I was just looking for meta targets, like metamorphosis targets that are level 8. And there just weren't any for a long time. Like there's none in chaos format. That you can actually bring out
I mean,
metamorphosis.
Yeah.
And like I'm pretty sure like maybe the XYZ fusions or Dark Paladin. I think those might be level 8. But
I wonder if
Twin
Yu-Gi-Oh would have
Dragon's level
broken
8.
if they would have just like let us meta into Dark Paladin. I don't think it would have been too crazy, maybe just a little bit.
Yes, it would have.
well, no, it would be more of a jank strategy. Like just because a jank strategy has a very powerful end board, I don't necessarily mean that makes it like a problem or broken or anything like
No,
that.
it'd be a problem because of Cyberstein later
Like
on.
in the TCG,
Not
they
even-
should-
it'd be
problem.
another. Yeah, it'd be another target, and that'd
Yeah.
be stupid and ridiculous.
But-
No,
In the TCG,
Well, they should have done it because it would be funny.
Yeah.
they didn't do it because people did it. Would have done it in
Okay.
the OCG.
Looks like Danny will be winning.
Danny won.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh,
So
yeah.
And
we're diving
PJ
in.
won.
PJ won as well.
Yes, I was trying to say that, but you were talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's put that
PJ.
into. Okay, looks like that got put in. So we got some other games here, and have
It-
you started,
yeah.
started playing?
No, they've played, but Illustrator accidentally put watching off.
Oh,
So
okay, I
they
gotcha.
just continued with it.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
They said if they
Let's
have
take
to,
a
they'll
quick
post the
look.
replay.
Yeah, it's fine.
So the only one-
I trust the
Can watch
I
it.
trust that no one's trying to like manipulate the outcome of the locals.
Oh, Dump Truck also beat.
Oh, Dump Truck
Ghosty.
also beat Ghost, yeah.
Okay,
And
I was
now
looking
he's-
for that replay, so that's good to know.
So now it's Dump Truck versus Patrick.
I am looking
The
forward
last
to
first
Soul's
round
game.
match is also done apparently, though we don't have the result yet.
Okay, cool. So that means Food's gonna dive in to a game as well. Yeah, this has been a very brisk tournament compared to some of the past locals that we've held.
Wait,
I
they're
think
done? Who won?
I think it's part of just the fast pace of this format. Snack YGO
It
says,
is so
brutal game
quick.
3 for me. Pretty fun though. Tricky to figure out which cards I need to expect as sets. Yeah, that's part of the fun of this format. There's so many
Mhm.
powerful cards. You really can't, predict too many sets. Like, in terms of
Mhm.
drafts, there are only a couple that really get played, but like the ones that do get played are so powerful that you do really need to play around them. Like Mirror Force, Torrential
Yeah.
Tribute, and Torrential Tribute's at 3 copies too, so it's like, even scarier. So, it's
Not to mention the set monsters, right?
yeah.
Also, food. It was missed, but apparently, Mr. Edison
No, we
likes your
don't need
cute
to
voice.
discuss that further.
Oh
But Justin Linford
my
said any
God.
missed opportunities with Konami giving support to old Yu-Gi-Oh monsters. Like for me, it's Magician Valkyrie. And yeah, Magician Valkyrie was such a cool card when it came out. Like, I mean, I just remember it
Oh,
from the anime with Cyrus mainly. But yeah, it was definitely pretty cool. Like, and I think that there are a lot of missed opportunities
oh
for certain
yeah.
support
We
things.
can't access that match.
But
Never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Snack
So
YGO says opponent was on apprentice / old vindictive, so I brought in 1 knock from the side. Not sure if that's correct or not. I definitely think that knock is good to bring in. Personally, like
mhm.
knock is also powerful just against
As
a
a
variety
main.
of things in this
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like a normal
like
main.
DD Warrior Ladies. It can hit like Shining Angels if they're on that sort of like target as well. So I do think that knock is good. And honestly, like knock is so good in this format, it could potentially be in the main deck for a lot of decks. So that's something to
For
consider
sure.
as well. Like honestly, like I was testing out Ellie Tin Can's Chaos Control list, and it was like I noticed some things that I would potentially change in the future. And one of the things that I would change is adding just 2 knocks to the main. So yeah.
So many people are like on Spy, Magician of Faith, Merchant, and obviously like the one ofs, like Jar. All the jars actually.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna see Spy become even more popular in the future. Um, yeah, Snack says ETC's list was the one I played, and yeah, I think it's a very good list. Like, don't get me wrong, it's just like in playing it myself, like I definitely, and that's why I recommend people like just try out the topping list of the previous format because like it's generally gonna be very good as like a baseline, right? You're not gonna play and be like, oh, this is just garbage, and I have no idea, what the format's like. You're gonna play it and you're gonna be like, oh, this is actually like, pretty good. But you might have some gripes with it. You might realize that certain cards just don't jive with your play style, or you think that maybe they're in there when they shouldn't necessarily be. And if you just make those adjustments, like I think that you're left with a deck that's very good and also tailored to your own sort of needs as well. So I generally recommend doing that. And
Oh, they're finished.
yeah. It looks like
Sorry.
Tom Sense says Spy is so good to get the dark in graveyard without DD Warrior Lady Kaiku being annoying. Yeah, Spy is definitely extremely good here. Okay, it looks like we've got some other games here. So let's see. Okay, it looks like that was Hoy, but we'll get the results.
Hoy
Of that
lost to
soon.
Danny.
Yep, which we do have.
And
here.
Paolo lost to Heliostrider, apparently.
Okay.
Okay, food. We'll see you later.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Good luck in your matches.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Honestly, the dark has never felt like the problem, right? Where it's like there's always so many like darks where it's like Breaker and Scientist and like maybe the Spies and Kaiku.
Yeah, Lost Will has to be before. So let's see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Lost
Darks
Will
are easy
before.
to make
Yeah,
for
lights are
chaos.
the tricky, well, the quote unquote tricky ones. Like if chaos was like fire and dark, I assure you people would have some issues.
Yeah.
Like
Lost Will is
Oh,
the bad
it's-
Lost Will at this point, unfortunately. But
Yes.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Only-
It's just good to
Yeah,
point
sorry.
out because it came up in the game here.
mhm.
But yeah, there's some interesting ruling changes in Chaos. If you've been watching my previous videos and sort of encountered rulings that you're like confused about, the Chaos format definitely puts a lot of things like right, or at least more in terms of a modern idea of it, right? Like, for instance, maintenance costs can no longer be negated by things like Jinzo. So if you've got Jinzo up and an Imperial Order up as well, then you still have to pay for Imperial Order. And same with like Archfiends and Skill Drain, right? You still have to pay for the Archfiends maintenance costs, whereas before
And
that
Messenger
you don't
of
actually have to.
Peace.
Well,
And
yeah,
Messenger of Peace.
yeah.
Yeah.
You could
And
go on
every
and on
other
listing all
payment
these,
from now and on.
all the different things.
Yeah, there aren't that many right now. There are a few, but just not that many.
Archfiend's crying in the club right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Archfiends
You
got
can
a little bit nerfed here, but I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, Archfiends I feel like are a deck that not quite able to compete in this format. Vampire, I think they might be, Rogue or like tier 2. Unfortunately, in Chaos, a bit less good.
It's okay. They
Yes.
had one good format. They're done.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's honestly
We're
like all a lot of
yeah.
decks need, I think. Like, and that's part of the
Mhm.
fun of diving into all these different formats. Is like, if you are looking for a time when Archfiends are good, you can potentially try Vampire. And
Mhm.
like it's just cool to explore them in that setting, and like, and it's also why it's cool to know about a wide variety of these formats. So that way, if you are looking to play a certain deck or play a certain style of gameplay, you can find what you need.
Indeed. Also, I was going to say something.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're playing after the change for US Nationals, but if you want to, you can also play before the change because Chaos format starts from the list, and that period can go from the May 31st.
Yep,
And you can play without having to pay maintenance costs if you want to.
And that is very true, but if you are playing an official Chaos game, like as the format's defined by like Format Library, or as the format will be defined in the upcoming tournament, then it will be with those rulings. But that's something that like I do like to have on the server as well. Like for a lot of formats, there is sort of like, at the beginning, I was able to take a much more sort of granular approach because the changes weren't as rapid. So like if big changes did happen, I could focus on each change as they came. Unfortunately, as time's gone on, more and more changes happen between these formats, not just in card pools, but for rulings as well. And not every change, affects the formats in a huge way. So I unfortunately can't really devote too much time, setting aside that as a separate channel on the Discord or separate videos and stuff. But what I do like to do is I like to have like threads open that, can have place for people to discuss what the format would be like with that, or potentially play games, at that point in time. So I can set up some threads for that in the Chaos channel after the locals wrap up if people are interested in playing that.
Remember, everyone, Yu-Gi-Oh is fun, and you should play Yu-Gi-Oh the way that you find it most fun.
Yeah. So it looks like Heliostrider did win here. So, yeah. You should play
Watching
the way that
PJ and Soul right now.
Yeah. You should play the way that you find it most fun, but also make sure that if you are joining an official event, that you are on the same page as everyone else in that event as to what the
Yes,
the thing is.
absolutely.
There's the official and not so official.
Yeah. And
you don't want to be the guy in 2003 trying to activate Royal Oppression in response to a Chaos summon. It's not going to go well for you.
Oh.
Which you can, as a note, you can, if Royal Oppression's already face up, you can do that, but you can't just flip it up and then use effect in the same chain. So yeah, or as a response.
It's crazy how one little change like that made it go from like this card that never saw play to like a meta defining card.
Yeah.
Royal Oppression did see OCG play in the Chaos era because they didn't have this rule then.
Yeah.
You could flip it and activate it at the same time as always.
And, I mean, that's
for
just
some
more
reason
evidence that, the
yeah,
the rule change was such a big thing for it.
Yeah.
UDE messed up.
Huh? Who messed up?
Upper deck
Upper
messed
deck.
up and
Oh, well,
imposed
yeah,
a
for sure.
ruling that wasn't actually there.
Yeah. There's unfortunately a lot of instances of things like that happening.
There's like, no, guys, it works like this. Trust. And then they come back 2 years later. So about that.
Yeah. And it looks like Soul and PJ wrapping up their game there quite explosively. It seems like Soul's on a bit of an interesting deck playing Fusion Gate. Might be going into Dark Paladin with like Buster Blader and Dark Magician. Very interesting.
Soul's deck is so cool.
Yeah. So, very cool. But again, like we were discussing earlier, like level 7 monsters definitely do see play and things like that. But it sort of dives into the debate of like what's meta versus what's not. And I don't necessarily think that everything has to, like, people often equate like meta with like sort of a mortal goodness or like if you're not playing, the meta decks, then you're doing it wrong. And I try and promote on this channel that like you don't necessarily need to do that, as people were saying earlier. There's no right way to play Yu-Gi-Oh. Just play the way that you have the most fun with. And so if you want to play the most competitive decks, you can do that. But also if you want to play a bit of a more high rolly strategy, a bit of a jankier option, you can do that as well. And yeah, that's part of why these locals are very fun as well, because people are able to play, whatever they want to. It's a smaller event, less competitive. But it is good for both competitive players wanting to practice and also, people who just want to show up with a fun pet deck, and, who want to jam some games in.
Yeah, some people want
Indeed.
to optimize the format. Other people just want to just want to turbo at Dark Paladin and be like, all right, out my board.
Yeah.
Or Heart of the Underdog.
Yeah.
Or
Or
Whatever,
Heart of
Alter
the
Evolution
Underdog.
Pill.
whatever jank
Both
Yeah, it's like
strategy.
both of those
IOC.
strategies.
What,
IOC has chaos overwhelmed everything.
oh,
But
wow. It's exact
surprisingly,
lethal there. Yeah.
Jeez.
That'll be exact. Unless Healer's Trident
Sorry.
has a Karibo or something. That'll
doubtful.
be okay. There we go.
No one's
So,
ready for the Heart of the Underdog chaos turbo.
I mean, it's Heart of the
Yeah.
Underdog, classic sort of jank card. And I mean, for good reason. It's very, very fun just to draw through your entire deck with Heart of the Underdog, if you can pull it off.
Yeah, very hard to do in this format. But
Well,
I'm
yeah,
just saying, like,
but that's
there's
part
a
of why
lot
it's
of
jank.
strategies. Yeah, there's a lot of strategies that just work in this format. Like with 3 Mock, for example, like you can also play Cannon Soldier and Soul Absorption, and that'll work.
Well,
Not
define what you mean
consistently,
by
but it
work.
does work. No, it works. It works in the sense that you can play it. It might even be rogue, barely.
Yeah, and then
It
But-
works as in you can legally activate the card.
well, no, but that's what I'm saying with the Heart of the Underdog thing too. Like you can definitely do that if you want to.
Oh,
there are
that's
different
much
ways-
worse. That's much worse.
Sure, but
Sorry.
if we're talking about just people playing pet decks for fun, then like
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
at that point whether how good something is. It matters,
yeah, true.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to say that IOC has a lot of strategies that work.
Oh yeah, and
They
that's
work,
why.
they're playable, but the big issue is chaos exists
Well-
and everything is ruined.
So that's why I tried to make my guide to the format the way I did, because I've seen some people give feedback basically saying, like, oh, you should have focused more on just the competitive things and not gone into all these sort of, jank strategies as well. And, you can definitely have that opinion. Like, if you don't want to watch the parts where I discuss the more jank strategies, you definitely don't have to. That's why I sort of timestamp my videos into different sections. So if you
Yeah,
just
they're
want-
literally timestamped.
yeah, so if you just
Yes.
want to see the sort of, meta-defining new cards that get introduced and the cards from previous sets that are still relevant and can be good, then you can definitely just, watch the first part of the video, and then just go to the deck lists and be fine with that. But for people who do want to see the wide range of new strategies introduced and the new cards that aren't necessarily going to be meta anytime soon, but can lead to some fun ideas, fun jank, things like that, then, I have more to the video as well. And, I feel like, it does make for a very long video, and I don't think that anyone out there has to watch it all. I'd appreciate it if you watch it all, because it does support the channel a bit. But I just make them as reference sources for any number of different types of players. No matter how competitive or casual you are, I hope that they can be a good reference source. And that's why I do
It's
it.
something for everyone.
Exactly.
Yo, can I just
Also,
say, shout out to
Someone
Trap
has joined your
Shoot.
Discord server.
Oh yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to the Discord as well. But yeah, Trap Does Shoot. It is an interesting card. I mentioned it actually in the sort of good stuff section of the guide, because it's a card that people aren't really playing as much. In GOAT format, sees a lot of play. In Edison format, sees a lot of play. But in Chaos, it's like you've already got 3 hand rips in the form of Duo, Sentry, and Comfy. But like, do you need the Dust Shoot? Dust Shoot's kind of off more of the time. It can only send back monsters. Do you want that? It's debatable.
Yeah. There's
Um,
only one benefit to Dust Shoot, and that's the fact that you get to see the card they draw. And that's like a very small benefit.
yeah. And also, if it's a power spell, you can't shuffle back that card. So it's like, is that how much of a benefit is that? But there are some cards that can be used with Dust Shoot. I mentioned DT Designator in the guide as well. So maybe, you could do that sort of combo. There's some interesting stuff you could do with it. And I think it is something where, like, as people test the format more, I think more people will test it as well. Whether it turns out to be good or not is another matter. But I think that, like, a large number of cards that, like, people have sort of reevaluated over the course of time will probably see experimentation as we continue our journey forward through the game's history. I mean, just look at Gravekeeper's Spy. Gravekeeper's Spy was a card that, wasn't really as prevalently played as it is now. And people have realized the extreme power of that card. So it's really cool to see.
Turns out a free +1 on a 2000 booty is pretty nice.
Oh yeah.
Hi,
Very
GBO.
nice.
Hello.
Hello,
Hey,
GBO.
hello.
Welcome to the stream.
Hello, I am preparing for chaos, so I'm watching. The
Yeah.
local
Nice.
Well,
to
we're happy to
have
have
Oh.
you watching here. And it should be very fun. And this is like, we're seeing some very interesting cards being used here, as well as some interesting strategies ahead of the monthly tournament starting tomorrow. So very, very cool stuff that we've seen so far.
Thinking about like Yu-Gi-Oh and Power Creep is very funny because like you think about like, oh, Trap Dust Shoot is a card that's like at 3 here, and people don't even play it. And then in Edison, it's at 1, and that's like what 6 years into the future, and people say it like ruins the game when it's activated.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just the monsters got so much better, right?
yeah, I
Kind
mean,
of.
it's
It's
interesting
the
because
game.
like Power Creep is an interesting concept in Yu-Gi-Oh specifically. Because
Apologies. Dump truck beat Patrick Star.
okay, good
Nice.
to know about. Let's put
Continue with
that
your power creep
in the
discussion.
thing here. So yeah, it's interesting to see because like, there is of course the obvious, definable thing you can point to where you're saying, okay, look at the cards printed now. Look at the cards printed 20 years ago. The cards printed now do so much more. Are part of strategies that are so much better. I mean, you can let things like Raigeki off the list, for instance, now because it doesn't really matter against most modern end boards, right?
Oh,
And you
it
can look at
matters
that
still to an
and
extent.
say,
but
okay, power creep is basically just the cards getting better overall. But when you look at it from the perspective of the DM era and the eras following the DM era and so on and so forth, you see that power creep is a little bit more complicated than that. Like power creep definitely depends on the pace of the game at different times. Like I'd, for instance, say that like Stein format is a more high power format than Edison as well, even though it comes a bit earlier. And the reason for that is that not necessarily that Stein is just a busted card, it's that it ends games very quickly.
Which it is.
It is a busted card.
see you
for
later,
sure,
GBO.
but the pace of the games is just so quick. And I mean, that is part of the interesting thing here that like, I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not a steady stream of like, okay, the game is grindy up to a certain point when it becomes more combo oriented, and then it evolves into the modern day, which is really focused on combos a lot. It's not quite that clean of a progression. And I think in every area you can look at formats that are a lot grindier than others, a lot more combo oriented than others. And I think that also contributes to the feeling of power creep as well.
And a lot of the cards in early Yu-Gi-Oh were also just like bonkers to the point where it's like, there's that one video where it was like a Farfa video where like a goat deck beat like Warrock, which
Yeah.
is like a 2021 deck, and it's like it's
Yeah.
insane.
To be fair,
Warrock is just
yeah,
To be fair, Warrock.
yeah,
sucks.
Warrock is just
Warrock
why?
is basically
Why
a
did
GX era deck.
Konami? Why did Konami
It's
of
literally a
America make
GX
that?
era deck.
Yeah.
Also,
on the level
Helios
of Strike
Strider
of
lost
Neo
to
6
food.
Sams, I'd say.
Oh my god.
But I mean,
Back when 6 Sams wasn't hated by everyone because it was bad, but it wasn't toxic.
yeah.
It wasn't even bad. It was much worse than the OCG.
Again,
Grandmaster made it
define
playable.
bad, right? Like 6 Sams, for instance, like the deck had a lot of flaws. I think it did actually top a tournament around that time, but it mainly topped due to the skill of the player and the
Yes.
people being less familiar with
Yeah.
everything.
I think in Perfect Circle they're probably like playable to some extent, but like you wouldn't call them like meta.
And that gets into
Dimensional
your
6
definition of
Sams.
bad, right? Like it's like that's why in having these discussions it's so important to define that sort of thing. And this is like Also part of the thing that I discussed back when the Yu-Gi-Oh community, like on Twitter and YouTube and stuff, started making videos about like what is a bad deck, what's a good deck and stuff. I think part of the reason why it generated so much discussion is because everyone has their own idea of what's good and bad. And if you don't define what you're talking about when you say this deck is good, this deck is bad beforehand, then you're going to get people saying like, no, I don't think that. I think this deck is actually good, or I think this deck is actually bad, because you're operating on different definitions, right?
Yeah.
And if you call people's pet deck bad, they will get very upset.
Oh yeah. And I think even with people's pet deck, like, you don't see a lot of like pet deckers, being like, my deck is like, it's going to win the next YCS, like, unless it's like an actually like really good deck. But if people, confront them and say like, oh, it's not good enough to win a YCS, they might be like, well, yeah, it's probably not good enough to win a YCS, but it can like win games on ladder. It can, like, in the hands of a skilled pilot, it can do a lot more than people are giving it credit for and things like that. And to them, that can be the definition of a good deck, right? But for people who are looking at, the competitive landscape of what the topping decks at a YCS will be, then it could be a very different conversation that they're having. And so I think it's important to sort of do that, and I think that is a good... Oh, no!
Jeez.
Oh, that is the worst hit-off duo you could hit. Oh, and hitting a Thunder Dragon as well. Well, at least Danny can't pitch Thunder Dragon, grab 2 more. But that's brutal.
Yeah, like
Why
one
to
thing is
set
them
up, though?
choosing to one thing is them choosing to discard the serpent, another is you being so unlucky that you discard the serpent for them.
Yeah. At least they've got Io to back it up, and I mean, Io is going to be very powerful. Also, they did not add back Serpent to hand, so, I mean, it could be that they had like Mirage that they can't really activate under IO, but I feel like it's not bad to just put up IO under Mirage, or not IO, put up Mirage under IO, because like then you basically force your opponent to make the decision: do I keep the IO up? Do I let it go? And they can potentially keep it up longer than they wanted to, or
Mhm.
But it looks like that Breaker is going to attack into the set there. It is a Spy. So Spy is going to bring out another Spy from deck. Very, very good here for Danny. Because now...
DJ looks to have beaten Soul. That just has to click admit defeat.
Okay. Well, I'll wait for them to click admit defeat then.
Yes, they're just talking right now.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
just
wait for
informing
them
you in advance.
to be done before diving in and updating that. Investing with Cole says Dust Shoot broke. And C-Spare says sometimes you just get FDK'd. Yeah. It was cool to see an FDK deck in the format, or in the tournament, but this is part of the issue with like FDK decks in general, is that they can win a game or two, but if they're talking about like winning a full tournament, it's a lot harder for them, because they need to consistently be pulling off their FDK, and even if their FDK rate is like 50%. That's a bit of an ask, because you're not always going to be going first. Your opponent will likely have interruption, and so it'll be rough. But it's always unfortunate to be the person who loses to the FDK deck, because it's just rough. It's like, sometimes the FDK deck just goes off, and that is what it is.
Yeah, like if you open, it doesn't matter if you open FTK, if they have torrential, you get torrential. Like
yeah, which is pretty rough. Looks like Danny at least has the MST for the Mirage. It looks like they're going to add back the Serpent to hand this turn. So they're not in the worst position. Yeah, and Angmar says, next time, don't forget. I wish it was that easy, Angmar. I've forgotten Serpent more times than I can count, because there's just so much going on in this format that it's like you're thinking about other things and you forget the Serpent. But Serpent is really good just to remember to get back. And yeah.
there's no Master Duel flashy button that says, hey, get Serpent back.
Exactly. And that's part
By
of
the
why,
way,
I really like
this was forgotten, but Food defeated Helios Strider as well.
Okay, it wasn't
Oh,
forgotten. I
nice.
didn't know about it. Good to
I mentioned it, but it just got drowned out yet again.
Okay, I didn't hear you then, I guess.
I did.
looks
I
like-
didn't either. I'm
Looks
sorry.
like Food versus Dump Truck is going on as well.
Nice.
So it looks like the locals are going pretty quickly. And this is going to happen as we dive deeper into these formats. And formats get a bit quicker. You're going to have some locals go a lot more quickly than other locals. of course, after the banlist hits, things are likely going to slow down a little bit. Although AST does have some pretty crazy combo decks that might go pretty quick.
Just wait.
Um,
Just wait until the
Hey.
2 years of Cyberstein chat. It's gonna be great.
yeah, that's going to be fun. I do think that, like, for something like the Stein formats, I think that will go a lot quicker than I've been going for these formats, because for formats that are relatively similar, I don't really think that they need too much more exploration. And also, a lot of the GX sets don't introduce that much in terms of new strategies. Whereas the DM era, like, the packs are so big that there's just a lot to
Hi,
go through
Soul.
there. Welcome,
Hey,
Soul, to
Soul.
the chat here. Seems like you were on a bit of a wild deck.
Yeah, it's sort of a basically I like Dark Paladin a lot. I wanted to try out a different version of it. That focused a lot more on the Fusion Gate stuff, and I had a Thunder Dragon, which had a lot more support. But yeah, in general, I think though I don't know. I feel like I needed more time with this one because I basically did a couple of like last minute changes, and I feel like I would have needed to add like I know like with some of these lists they would play like the jars or so, and I felt like I needed some of that for some more consistency. But that's just how the deck is, I think, at times.
Oh
Where
yeah,
it's like,
the jar draw engine
Yeah.
is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also
Yeah.
something where, like, that's the great thing about these locals, is that you play them, you're like, oh, this needs the jar engine, and then you get to put them in. So,
hmm
a lot.
Yeah.
And then you get to bring them to tomorrow's tournament, the multi-day tournament. Everyone should sign up for.
Yeah, if people have not
Yeah.
are interested in this format, have not signed up for that yet, definitely head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server. Starting tomorrow, it will be a lot of fun. It's scheduled for 12 p.m. EST as the start. Although we might be a bit lenient for people who are signing up. Maybe we'll start at like 2 p.m. EST instead, just to give more people time to wake up and remember to sign up if they haven't already.
It's gonna be a pretty chaotic time, if I do say so myself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
chaos.
God. Yeah.
but
And I do want to apologize to Colgate for our match.
No, I
because,
think that
oh
was
my
the
God.
funniest thing. Like that
Yeah.
encapsulates why I find this format funny. Like sometimes you just resolve CED for 6,000 damage. Like why not? You know?
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that is very iconic here. I mean, CD is a card that you can't really play with outside of this format. I mean, it does come back eventually in the TCG, but it gets nerfed to high hell, and by that point, is it even that good? Not really the best.
Yeah. Like,
There's also
I think the only
AS when
interesting.
AST is introduced.
To be
But
fair though,
other than
I do
that,
think
it's
specifically
stuck in
Soul's deck was
traditional.
like Soul's deck was specifically good against my first hand because it was like both chaos bosses and painful choice. And I was like, this is gonna be crazy. And then he drops 2 dark paladins, and I'm like, all right, well.
Yeah, that was like a good. I basically had like a very interesting hand, and what helped. They basically like how it worked was I was able to get out the first Dark Paladin, and I had a Dimension Fusion in hand, so I was able to get a second one out, and combining that with Mirage or Nightmare, I was able to have 4 negates on their turn.
Because I was gonna ask, like, is it worth it going for the second Paladin? But if you have Mirage as well to just draw back what you're using up, then you might as well.
Yeah, no, it's basically like the edge cases that were usually for like monster removal is what you would go for that, or if you want to like play around stuff like Mirror Force or Saku, having the second one there allows you to keep spell negates online.
Or
That's
playing
more so
around
the
IO
Yeah.
on the next turn. If your opponent sets IO and you go for Dim Fuse, then they can just IO that, right? But like if you do it on your turn,
Oh, yeah.
then they can't do that. MST
Yeah.
eating
IO
is
remains a
national.
very fun card.
Yeah,
this
like,
actually, I just want to say this has been a wild game. Because if we remember what like Angmar's first turn was, it was pretty crazy, like, pretty good. But I mean, it might be ending here with the Yata Lock, and it looks like Angmar's thinking it looks like they're not going to banish the Serpent. Not sure how I feel about that, but I guess, I mean, with the Warrior Lady on field, you're keeping it up in case the other card in Danny Droid's hand is something that can stop the lock. Because currently, the DD Warrior Lady is, uncontested right now. And if it remains uncontested and Danny has another monster in hand, then that will likely be the end of the game. But we'll have to see what happens here. And Danny, of course, is adding back that Serpent. And they haven't conceded yet, which means that they likely have something here. This is indeed...
I mean, 18 cards in deck, though. Wouldn't you like deck out before the Yata Lock completes?
Well,
Like-
so you're dealing 200 damage per turn, so that's like 18
Oh,
turns
oh,
left. Right?
yeah.
Oh,
There
yeah,
it
Chaos
is.
Monster will do
There
it.
it is.
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
God. Okay, well,
And
we
it's
weren't going
BLS.
for the deck out. We were going for the you're out of this game because PLS is coming
Yeah,
down.
and
Well,
you got to do the
yeah,
prio.
you gotta banish.
Yeah, you got to do prio here. Banishing the Warrior Lady. Just to get it out of here. And
Mhm.
this will indeed cut off the thing. I mean, Torrential will
no.
destroy the field. But I mean, you
I mean,
still
that's
got to
fine,
deal
right?
with
We
the
have
Serpent because now Danny just sets
Yeah.
the Serpent, and they're surviving if Exile Angmar Sorcerer does not have a way to deal with that.
Yeah. I guess that's fair. They do get another drawback into the game as well.
Yeah.
And
So-
they're basically Yata and the
Depends.
card and 2 cards
the-
now.
This
yeah.
is
Also-
maybe an indication that Angmar should have gone for the Warrior Lady Banish on the Serpent because that would have been the end of the game
Mhm.
here.
Personally, I will always banish the
Probably.
Serpent. That thing can stay gone.
Zelu getting
It
surged.
is recurable.
but-
yeah.
Unfortunately, the Yata Lock is not online now. Danny gets a draw here. That draw could potentially get him out of this situation. We'll have to see.
It could
what
even be
is.
a live CED.
Yeah, because a light and a dark is engraved. BLS being a light is really important to keep in mind. It does come up a lot in this format.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's always a funny, or not even. Well, it's an often not common, but like it's a thing that can happen in these games where if you're low enough life points, like CED can just come in and be like, "Hi,
Mhm.
hello."
Also, a
can
very
end now.
interesting distinction between both Chaos Boss monsters. I believe CED cannot be summoned again once it's like properly summoned, right?
It could also just be that at the time, because I know like with some of the older cards, they ruled where you can if you summon them properly first. Because I know like
Oh, does it got the
Ooh.
There's
different text
game.
actually?
Maybe.
Well, not quite
Depends on the
game
set.
yet. Depends on what the set is.
yeah.
But still rough. 2 spies gone. It looks like that's a witch.
Oh.
So it won't quite be the end of the game here.
Yeah,
Just
that's
deal
fine.
Yeah,
a
say-
fair amount of
that's why I
damage
said
and
maybe.
Stop a draw.
Yeah, we now know
Yeah.
it's a set witch, which means the Serpent's getting sniped, but the
Mhm.
witch will be back on the other side of the field,
That's
and
fine.
it'll add a monster.
Yeah, but either way,
That
this is
is true,
basically just for
yeah.
damage. I mean, I guess Danny could use Zaylu
Oh,
with his will, but I
I
don't
guess
really think that's.
technically you could use another effect, right? You could be like, okay, I'll send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave and just hope to hit CED.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, I don't necessarily think that's the best.
No,
but it
you
is an
never do
option you
that,
could
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Because
the
it could
graveyard
just
is now the
uh,
second
backfire,
hand,
yeah.
at least in this format.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
these
could
aren't
just
like-
like easily backfire.
Yeah. But like both both cards that Danny has currently at least are decent against the Yata Lock, so that's
Yeah.
always nice to see.
Like right now, Donza Luke just needs to be Winged Dragon Guardian of the Fortress, and that's okay.
Oh, he's milling.
Mill 2. Yeah! Let's go!
Oh,
Okay, you know what? I dig
Honestly,
it. CED off the top. Come on.
that
One time.
actually
Breaker.
there is some debate to
Actually-
actually doing it.
Yeah, no,
honestly.
good.
there is debate. The argument might be you get a witch target out of the deck, for instance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
like
Breaker
it's
there
it's
is an
risky.
Which we
though.
did.
It's risky because it turns on. I mean, like Reborn is already kind of on because you can bring back BLS with
All right.
Reborn. Same with
Mhm.
Call of the Haunted, etc.
Yeah,
So
Danny's probably setting the Serpent.
yep.
Yeah.
And you might as well
Mhm.
because the Dom might rip it out anyways. It also blocks some more damage. If like
It
Angmar
blocks the
has-
Yata poke.
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't seen though a Dark Hole or Raigeki yet. Raigeki would more or less make it
Oh, here comes
harder for Danny.
another war. No, exiled force.
Exile
Okay,
Force
Ooh.
coming out. I mean that you save,
Oh.
right? You just attack into the witch this turn. Save the exiled for whatever they search out. Maybe.
Eh?
Well, I mean, I guess
What?
you prevent them from getting the witch search doing this, but I think this is way too passive. I don't like this play.
Considering we just milled their top deck last turn, like we just completely
Yeah.
switched strategies.
They still have a light and dark as well, so
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and exile.
Oh, they got their own
Zalug
exiled.
there. And
yeah.
probably declare Prio, I assume. Yep.
Does he
Oh, there
not
we
have
go.
another copy of
And,
DD Warrior Lady,
I mean, at
though?
this point, yeah, you just switch Witch to attack, and you might even switch the Serpent to attack if you want to, because you can have the read that Angmar might not have TT, if they let the exile go through. But I get it's safe to just set the Serpent.
I wonder if it
Yes.
was correct just to like keep the reinforcement in hand rather than like search something. Because right now the exiled is doing like very much nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering why no second DD Warrior Lady. That would have fixed
tough.
this problem partially.
Yeah, I feel like Warrior
Yeah.
Lady.
Oh, okay. Well, I
Oh.
guess if
Off
you
will
have,
get
if
back
you're good enough to
something
have
good
Paul,
here.
yeah,
Graceful is
Yeah.
going to be
Charity.
pretty helpful depending on what the set is.
that's
I mean,
pretty good.
no IO's been used, but looks like the Graceful's getting fired here, and they got a choice here. I mean, if they can set up the Yata Lock, that's really good, but it's tough setting up the Yata Lock through Witch, getting a search as well. They're also only at 2,900, which is a very worrying position to be in as well.
By exiled.
Still haven't seen
There
a
goes the
chaos
exile.
monster yet either on their end. So but I guess
Oh,
Kaiku
there's
coming out here will
Kaiku.
stop chaos monsters from getting through, but why?
What?
I guess they don't want the witch
Actually,
search.
yeah.
They just
Okay,
really
sure,
don't want
yeah.
the witch search to happen.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll just keep
You're-
setting
you're-
the Serpent then.
You're
Yeah.
just that. Yeah, that did nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it set
Mm.
them back a turn on sets, maybe. Like
Actually, wait,
Yeah.
no. It actually did maybe some damage, right? Because if they top deck Graceful, then it's like
that's true.
they just get a free discard. Yeah.
I think
So
Graceful
it's
isn't-
it's give and
if they
take.
top deck card destruction as well.
Yeah.
Card destruction would go
And-
pretty well here because Angmar's at 8 cards left in deck, so not much left in deck. I mean,
Oh,
some very powerful
Actually,
cards left in deck for sure, but
we need to start hitting. Like,
yeah. But keep in mind what's left in deck. You've got CED, you've got BLS. I mean, that's all assuming that
Yeah.
Angmar is playing them, but in this format, you should be playing them. So,
If you can, or if it makes sense.
yeah,
If you're
there's
playing,
but
very
this
few
this deck definitely
strategies.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking in the graveyard right now. You see enough lights and darks.
Yeah.
If you
There
play
is.
all
We're
the
playing
Shining
Shining Angel.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
Now
what's
watch them
this?
Call here. Maybe, you can bring back
Whoa.
BLS.
call for
God,
BLS. Yeah.
That's so
Wait,
crazy,
oh.
man.
Yeah, if the back
Two
row or
MSTs
nothing,
have been
though.
used on Angmar's end, which means
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
they're
Potentially
targeting
one
BLS,
more.
and that will be fine. And you can indeed prio the
That-
BLS if
this
you
is
want
game.
to. Which,
This is game.
well,
if he
there's Mirror
attacks.
Force still left
Yeah,
in deck, so
you-
I feel like
Yeah.
Honestly,
you want to prio potentially. Yep, and they will indeed prio there. Now,
sure.
there is
yeah.
also the
Still be
outcome of like
another-
if CD comes down, but you can't do CD right now because BLS is light, and that was the light in graveyard that you needed. But
Oh,
You know
If
what?
Mirror
can
Force
bide
is
your
set
time
and BLS
here.
attacks. Oh,
So
that'll
I
be
kind
next
of
turn,
like.
though.
yeah, you can't.
I kind of
attack
like
with BLS
Kaiku
after that.
Banish.
I really
Yeah.
like the
Okay,
banish.
and
I think
there's a
that's-
set card to protect himself.
I think that
No,
banish
so I like
was a
Kaiku
really
Banish
smart
because
play.
if Kaiku hits, like that's your light is gone, right? Your
Yeah.
BLS is gone.
Oh, right, Gekko here.
Oh.
This allows
Okay,
you to do
man.
a safe BLS poke. If it's not like Mirror Force or Saku set, this will be the end of the game. Looks like it is
Mirror
indeed
Force.
Mirror
Okay.
Force.
Yeah. It
Another
was,
reason
yeah.
why the Kaiku there was so good.
Yeah, Banish is too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Send the call.
Yep, call is in
Mhm.
grave now as well.
Yeah.
It looks like another set, and the Yata's gone. They can't recover the Yata, so that must be really nice to see. Knock, though, is
Oh,
going to be
gosh.
pretty brutal here. And
Serpent, maybe?
oh,
Sangan,
now.
okay.
Oh,
Okay.
And it looks like a chaos monster, or maybe
Oh.
multiples
All
coming
right.
down.
But which one?
That was 2 lights. You
God.
need to banish the light
That's
and the dark.
Wait,
But
two lights,
you,
yeah,
you
my-
do have a dark.
My
It-
favorite.
he has a
you
dark,
have
so it's
multiple
not
darks
bad.
here, but
Yeah.
My favorite
My-
dark, shining dark angel.
yeah,
Yes.
it
Magician
probably-
of darkness.
it
know.
probably
Magician.
won't come up. But it is generally good to do. Yeah, okay, there we
Dark
go.
magician of
They noticed,
faith. Like,
so it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. See.
yeah, it's part of the dark
know,
magician archetype now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they're best friends.
it's all good. They banished a Zalug instead. Yeah.
Yeah.
No
What?
effect.
No,
No
actually,
effect. Oh, okay.
I
we're
think he
just
might just be going for game. If that last card in hand's a monster.
or
Well,
wait,
it
does he have
isn't going for
ring?
game though? Unless you got ring isn't even game because okay, if you've got
Oh.
Yes, it
CD as
is.
well,
Yes,
then
it
that is
is.
game.
you
Yeah.
know. Okay, I guess we
Oh.
just what?
Yep.
All right.
And
Oh,
if Danny's not
okay.
playing Karibo, this will indeed be the end of the game, and very few people are playing
Yeah.
Karibo here. So,
No, at least in the main deck, I
yeah,
guess.
very well. This is game 3, so.
I
but
Yeah.
think
very
this is the
intense
first time
game, double chaos
we've
win.
seen them
We
both
see-
drop.
Yeah,
at the
in a
same
game here,
time.
so it can come up.
Yeah.
And very cool stuff. That Dust Shoot was just dead there. Quite unfortunate, but yeah, I think that both players here played this very, very well. So let's just mark that down now.
It's a
And
crazy game.
yeah, and now we've got PJ versus Edge. We've also got Food versus Dump Truck if that's still going on. So let's
Probably is.
Let's dive into that. I almost said let's dumpster dive.
Let's dumpster
Yeah.
dive. Let's do
You know
it.
what? I'm down.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looks like
You know,
that
many
He
might
would
is a
say
dump
that
truck.
this.
Oh, wait. Are they done?
Oh,
Looks like that might be.
Oh,
over.
Dump
I
Truck
think
1
they,
versus
Dump Truck
Food.
1
Oh, they
versus
just
Food.
finished.
Mhm.
So there we
Okay.
go.
Wow.
We'll put that in.
so
like
we get
right
the
at
fresh game
Ooh, we
then,
missed
so
the
that's always
match.
nice.
Yep. So
Okay.
It's
okay, we
okay,
got
now we get
PJ
PJ
versus
versus-
Edge.
Yep,
So-
they're just starting now.
Okay, perfect. So we get to see the semifinals and then the finals. So it should be a lot of fun here. I'm excited to see who wins. And unsurprisingly, like from what I've seen of these games, all these players are on Chaos. And I haven't seen like too much spice from any of the individual players. Of course, they're making different tech choices with, you know, the lights they're playing, for instance. And I assume what like back row and stuff like that they're playing. But
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah,
that,
the first
you know, this
locals
is
was the Spice locals. This locals is the we're gonna gear up for tomorrow's tournament locals.
Play more seriously.
I mean, I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
think that Chaos Burn is still a good deck, but it does go to show that, like, you know, most of the time when you run a tournament in this format, you're gonna get Chaos in the top cut. It's gonna be like maybe not tier 0, but like you're gonna have a large percentage of Chaos because Chaos is I think the best deck in the room. Like
Yeah.
there could potentially
I mean,
be,
look, let's be real, right?
yeah.
Like you go to a chaos tournament, you're expecting chaos, right? It'd be crazy to go to like, you know, a vampire tournament and not expect anyone to be on vampire, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. too.
Yeah.
Like, that was
Yeah.
a good one. But
That's
Yeah.
more historical.
there's
but yes.
there's also the thing where like there's sort of two types of people I could see really diving into this format and the tournaments and stuff. One of which is the people who want to play full power chaos. And I think that'll be most people. Because full power chaos
Full
really fun,
power.
and
Put that in quotes.
well, this is full power for the TCG basically. In the mainstream formats that people play. So, you know, there are people who want to play that, but there are also
You're
people
echoing, by
who
the
want
way.
to, you know, sort of play it to break it, right? They don't want this format to be tier 0. They want to discover a new tech that people had not discovered back then, and they want to win with the off meta. And I think that, and also they're the people who, of course, are just in it with their, you know, sort of jank brews, and they just want to have fun that way as well. But we're talking about like the top cuts of a tournament, what I could see happening, it's mainly going to be those two sets of people.
Yeah.
But-
Someday Dark Sage Turbo will win Copium.
Yes, with the Time Wizard coin toss called correctly.
Yeah, light and dark. All right, light and dark already. You know,
I
on-
mean,
on
you know, that's the backup,
graveyard.
right? You know, even if the Time Wizard fails, you got a light and dark and grave, and then there you go. You go into your chaos stuff, easy.
See,
Wait, do we
yeah.
already have like any coin flip modifiers? Because if so, I mean, I'm just saying.
Second coin toss
I don't even
exists,
think
I
you. Well, I don't even think you need to. Like, I remember seeing on like Go Format's channel, Scully did like one for Go, like a Dark Sage Turbo list that was really cool, and I was like, there was a part of me that really wanted to actually try and.
I mean,
bring
Dark
it
Sage
in,
is like really
yeah.
cool, right? Like he's just cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
He
powerful.
is, you know,
Just
last will is a
highly
pretty broken
restricted.
card, so yeah.
Look,
Yeah,
all I'm
that's what
saying
they did
is
back then. The
Time
really
Wizard
broken
is either like
cards.
an out that Time Wizard is either like Regeki or it's just a last duel trigger. It's broken.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a light.
It is pretty
It is a
powerful.
light,
Yeah. You'll
Uh,
never know which one it is, but that's okay.
Yeah. You just got to roll the dice or flip the coins, as it may
Yeah.
be. Um,
God.
Thomas Edison asks, was the OCG format with CED legal more chaotic than this? That's a good question. I assume it is, but Blah, you probably know more about that, I assume.
I stretched. I didn't hear a thing you said.
Well,
Oh.
Thomas Edison asked a question about the OCG, so,
Oh, let's see. Oh, yes. Yes.
Immediately.
Yes.
unsurprisingly, as the OCG oftentimes was a bit wilder than the TCG, with the TCG has a bit of benefit of hindsight, with these sorts of
Something like
things.
that. I'll put it this way.
It was, but they still have backseat. So like,
If the opening's here now, I can talk about their version of IOC the period briefly.
Well, let's keep it mainly focused here, but it's interesting sometimes to compare the OCG and TCG. It's just when it's also good to acknowledge that they are very different as well. So a lot of what's in the OCG doesn't quite translate to the TCG and vice versa. But that's the fun of having these two different formats, I think.
I think we definitely had it easier. Like they got to suffer, and then we got to just enjoy the generally pretty okay hits. Scientist at 3.
Yeah.
We talked about that in Breaking From, but yet Scientist was still at 3 in their chaos, early in their chaos era. They actually played it in chaos. You can pay 1,000 and something, summon something like Musician King or Guilty of the Dragon Knight, Dark Hole, and you have your chaos monster.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can still do things like that here as well. I mean, you've got
just harder because Scientist is at 1.
Yeah, exactly. But it is something you can pull off here. Looks like
even the Guilty
and
I
just want to say this turned into a very even game state here. Very sort of 1-for-1. Yeah. Thompson says seems perfectly balanced to me. I'm not sure if you're talking about the OCG version of the game or this duel, but this duel is definitely very balanced in terms of the number of cards here. Kaiku, though, will start to disrupt that balance a bit because Kaiku, extremely strong card here.
Thomas Edison, what do you think about it?
Well,
if everyone's on broken cards, I mean,
nothing is broken.
Kaiku there.
Yeah,
so
it's the syndrome thing.
Saying,
card.
Yeah, they had a brief.
Okay, well that's another out to Kaiku. It does tie.
Yes.
But yeah, very interesting.
And he has the top deck advantage, which he'll take advantage of very quickly.
Yeah.
As you're saying,
like Shining Angel is also a very good top deck there because even DD Worley comes down, you gotta banish both, and then you're in sort of a similar spot as you were before. Now
in the OCG,
the thing about Angmar
that would have been Blade Knight.
Howdy, Blind Venus. Welcome to some very exciting chaos games here. The thing about
Howdy
Angmar's deck is that they likely have more warriors available because they're on more of a warrior deck. They likely have more live
chaos warriors
monsters. Well, yes, warriors. Oh,
Marionette.
Just chaos warriors
there with
every
Marionette.
Every deck with chaos is chaos. It's a variant of chaos. You have no chaos warriors, recruiter chaos, recruiter decks. It's all chaos. It's just different variants of chaos.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've discussed on this channel before. At a certain point, you have to draw distinctions and you've got to draw subcategories and things like that. It's reductive just to say Angmar's on a chaos deck and PJ's not on a chaos deck. It's implied because we've seen Angmar play BLS, we've seen Angmar play CED. Every deck is playing BLS and CED in this format as well, or most of them are. It's implied that it's a chaos version of the deck. But what I say, I'm not going to say Chaos Warriors every single time. I'm just going to call it Warriors.
Of course not. I'm just saying, making it clear
is in this format. It's just
that's just making it clear.
I'm just hoping. I'm hoping that one of these Chaos Warrior lists they're gonna bring out a Freed the Brave Wanderer, man.
That would be cool.
That card is so cool.
Yep. Unfortunately, I
The
mentioned
problem
this
is-
guy,
Sp-
banishing lights from
Yeah.
grave is really unfortunate because
Yeah.
you need them.
All right, let's
they're
say this
definitely
then.
the
Warrior,
more valuable
yeah.
commodity in grave than the.
There are decks
darks.
that can support it, but it's like it's not super
Yeah.
easy to do so.
Blade
Yeah.
Knight is missing.
Yeah, we don't
basically.
have that out yet.
That's
Snack
true.
YGO
Yeah.
mentioned
They
I did
had it
see
in the
Marionette
OCG,
in my match with the,
but Blade
PJ.
Knight isn't here yet.
And
I'm
yeah,
sure
we
they
haven't
did.
seen Marionette pop up here. I wonder if they actually keep it in all 3 games, or if it's just in for game 1 or not. But
Yeah.
it makes things like Snap
Like-
Steal
Oh
a
no,
bit better.
that
I mean,
was
Marionette's
annoying.
a dark. You know,
Exchange.
Yes, Exchange is good against decks like I was playing.
Well,
It
Exchange.
disrupts the combo.
We're
Good.
playing
it
exchange.
is an interesting side deck tech for sure. That is
Exchange
5. that's
Exchange
6
is good.
cards. Okay, yeah.
That is the funniest card.
Uh,
I love exchange.
It is funny. It's like
Yeah.
it's debatable
Wait.
how good it is versus other side deck cards, but it is an interesting thing that people can choose a side deck if they so choose.
Yeah, it was
It just
Good
gave him
against
Grace for
Exodia
charity, though.
early on.
Yes, against
When
it
Exodia, you
debuted.
can take a piece out of the hands too.
Yeah.
But yeah, charity.
I
here's-
don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, it must mean that their hand is pretty strong, but I feel like
Yeah,
Pot of
if
Greed
someone's on
is-
Exodia in Chaos format, bless their heart, man.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
I
Yo,
mean,
Chaos
Exchange.
Exodia. Let's go.
Exchange,
Yeah.
yeah.
Banish the
Exchange is
piece.
for specific things like Scientist. The deck I was running, combo decks like that to try and break up the
Yeah.
combo.
ooh,
I
Dustin's gonna be
mean,
pretty good there.
Yeah,
I don't know why he's
Exchange
playing
is-
it here.
Exchange is like the 5th best hand rip card.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Uh,
take their own BLS for yourself. You know, that's
And
what it's
Snack
Yes.
mentions that Pui played it in Goat format as well. Pui, a very good Goat format deck
Yeah.
builder. And
Yeah.
so, people do experiment with it. I'm still not quite sold on how good it is. But it is definitely an interesting side deck tech that you can use if you want. Tribe
Yeah.
is going to be pretty decent here, beating over that Sangan. Unfortunately, Angmar can search out something to out the Tribe with that Sangan. So
I think an interesting
tend to.
discussion to have as well is like cards that are inherently bad, but like they are good specifically into some decks, and that's why they go into side decks.
oh yeah, and
Yeah.
that
Like
definitely
Exchange is a bad card,
And-
but
Well, and
Is it
that's
really
why
a
it's
bad
like-
card if
that-
it has a role?
That's why it's
Mhm.
that's why I mentioned what I did, because BLS off the top too, plus
Oh,
which
God.
that's going to be pretty brutal here for PJ. But that's why I mentioned
Yeah,
that I'm not quite sold on Exchange, because I do think that there are generally better cards into the decks that you'd side Exchange in for than Exchange. Like,
Yeah.
they're like Exchange is such a unique card for sure. And, arguably against Exodia, it's the best side deck card you can do.
Mm.
But I think in general, if you're worried about more combo decks overall, I don't quite think it's the best card to bring in. But I mean, that's just my take on it. I think something like
Yeah.
Dust Shoot's probably a little bit better. I think, there are a variety of things that you can bring in
Yeah.
to sort of stop.
If you want to
Yeah.
minus yourself, you could even like play Drag Down with like Sinister Serpent and Thunder Dragon. Like,
Yeah,
it's-
if you want to, yeah. Although that's a
Is
bit
it
more of a
really
devoted
minusing
package
yourself
to fit in the side
If
deck
you're
list.
taking
Yeah.
advantage,
Yeah.
empty advantage, and turning it into actual advantage.
Which one?
Mhm.
Drag down or Exchange?
Drag down with Serpent and Thunder Dragon. Is
yeah,
it
like
really,
you're basically going like neutral instead of -1, but it is like a dedicated thing. Exchange is just always
Yeah.
going to be a -1.
Yeah, and that's why like
It's-
Drag down,
and
like
that's
Drag down's
Mhm.
interesting because in my version of Library FTK from Vampire, I didn't even play Drag down because the -1 was such a brutal thing.
Yeah,
For like
yeah.
sometimes you just don't have the hands to support it as well, and I was like,
it's
I
okay. We just have
think-
to wait until Dark World.
yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
now, to
definitely
be
not a bad
honest with
card.
Drag Down, though, I was
Yeah,
like,
I
my reasoning even then for playing in a library was just I wanted more consistency at that
Mhm.
point, because I just felt like the deck was like, okay, you're winning or you're losing, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like my mitigations for that now is after
Yeah.
like watching your video on it,
I
I was
mean-
thinking of
Well,
just
also,
bringing in, maybe I should bring in the Fiber and Cyber Jar just in case to have something there, but
yeah. Well, I do mention in
that's
the video
more or
that,
less my plan.
that you can make it the way that you made it, and that's part of why I kept that replay in there, because it shows that you can build the deck in different ways.
Mhm.
And I think that is important to sort of show, because there are different things that you can do with it. It's just doing the test hands. I was like, drag down just did not perform well in the test hands. And of course,
Yeah.
I only did about like 10 or so test hands with drag down before cutting it. So more testing. Like if you actually want to, go full in on library FTK and try and break it as much as possible, you need to do test hands in the range of like hundreds of test hands.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So who
Like,
knows if drag down
Theoretically,
would.
Drag
But-
down might actually be playable in something more like Manticore Exodia, which you want to discard things. You want
Yeah.
to send
Yeah,
like
speaking of
Manticore of
Manticore.
Darkness,
Mm.
Sacred Crane,
Although
Exodia pieces other than the head to the graveyard.
no, even after, like, I honestly think that drag down in Manticore Exodia, like, it definitely, if you don't have any Exodia pieces, then it's fine. But if you do, then, like, you even don't want to discard the normal pieces to get back off of backup soldier, because the point of Manticore Exodia is to win on that turn. You're drawing your entire deck to
Or
get
try
pieces
to.
of Exodia. Well, if you're
By
pulling
the
out the
way,
Manticore
it's-
combo, you're likely going to win. Like,
yeah, you're just
uninterrupted.
gonna win. Like,
But if you play drag down and your opponent takes a piece and you draw like backup soldier in your combo, you then have to wait a turn, set the backup soldier, and then get the pieces back. But like, first of all, you need specific conditions for backup soldier to actually go through. That might not be fulfilled at that point because you've just drawn through your entire deck. You might have a very low graveyard count. But like, also it takes a turn. In that turn, your opponent can do a variety of things. If they've got hand rips, they can rip the head out of your hand, for instance. So there, it's
speaking
like
of
a bit awkward.
speaking of Manticore, has anyone ever considered just like using Manticore and Card of Safe Return as like a draw engine,
Ooh, the
like a
Marionette is
beast
still
chaos type thing? Like that'd be kind of
Yes,
cool, right?
probably.
It is
You just, like-
interesting. It is something where like, okay, and Kaiku does indeed get to banish here because it just has to deal damage, and getting rid of that light is pretty
Mhm.
good. But it is interesting for sure. Because it's like, honestly, I am excited to experiment with the Manticore stuff, because I do think that outside of the cheesy Exodia combo, you can build like a beast deck. Like we've seen Earth aggro.
Yeah.
And
You can play like a tri-beast deck. Like you can play Sacred Crane, which is a light winged beast. You can play obviously the Dark Dog Vanilla. And then just add chaos
Dude,
stuff.
That's
That's
brutal.
basically the engine. Sacred Crane, Manticore of Darkness, Card of Safe Return.
Yeah, and then if you just have like
this is
Manticore combo, then you just like draw, I don't know, 7 cards, however much you need, and then you probably win anyways because of chaos monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Only
could
real
maybe,
major
like,
issue of the
I'm
deck.
just
hmm
Again, I'm using the OCG again, but this is actually important.
hmm
Manticore only finally found success in the OCG after Foolish Burial was released.
So
Made things
Yeah.
much easier.
yeah,
And this
Justice
happened
Punch,
during their Chaos era.
Justice Punch brings up a good point. They say you can backup soldier during the opponent's draw phase, and you can discard other pieces to do the hand size limits during your end phase to fulfill conditions. The issue is that you can't necessarily set backup soldier because the Manticore stuff happens at the end phase.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that is true about the discarding pieces in your draw phase. So you will likely have the graveyard conditions for backup soldier. That's a very good point. But unfortunately, the actual setting of it will take some time. So
we lack
like
some
if you want to
cards
do
still
some
to
yeah.
really, really make it work. But it could potentially be a rogue deck, at
Knock,
least
unfortunately,
in Chaos.
Oh, in Mirage as well, and that will allow Marionette
Yeah.
to pop the set. It is a witch, and it looks like Angmar is not on Karibo, so that will be the end of the game. So we actually got to see
Well-
Marionette do something here. Wild game there.
Yay!
Nice to
Now-
see that the opponents that beat me won their games.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Like,
Let's
I
go,
do want to
Marionette.
mention
I got
here,
double Yata Lock.
because
That
people might
sucks.
be saying that like the solemn play on the painful was like a wrong choice or something there, and I think that it is defensible. Like they knew one card in PJ's hand, and there was just a card set on field and a card that was unknown in hand. So if the other card in hand and the card in field don't do anything, then that solemn is really good, and then you get to rip a card out of the hand with the Zalug. But unfortunately, the Call of the Haunted definitely threw a wrench in things, and that's why that's why Solemn Judgment is a bit like more debatable in this format than it is in a lot of other retro formats, because when you have so many power cards, like like where do you even use the solemn? Like regardless of the life point cost, like you've got to pick what to use the solemn on. And if they've got any follow up, it can just be the end of the game because you've gone so low on life points and you don't have any other interaction for that. So it definitely is an interesting card to consider. Like, yeah, I think it's very cool to see people experimenting with it. But it's also cool to see like the different flaws that it might have in this format.
All right, our finalists are Dump Truck and Angmar Sorcerer.
Nope. And
Angmar
EJ
trying to
Darkness.
get.
Close enough. Close enough.
Oh wait, I put in the wrong thing. That's my bad.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Why do you think I
Oh
said
yeah. Wait, for a second, oh my god!
Well,
For
I
a
was
second,
busy
I
watching
thought
the
it was
game, so-
finals.
Yeah.
Oh
No.
my god! Dang.
But
But
it's been like an hour and 40 minutes. Streaming.
jeez.
Okay,
God.
going for a
And
1,000 either
a
trick there on the
scientist play.
set instead of a Balter. So not afraid of like Witch or Sangan. Oh, the set
Oh,
is an
gosh.
Io. That's gonna be rough. Especially after
Ooh,
going
that
for the
sucks.
scientist this way. Yeah, and then
And if
the
a
set will get
mistake was
sent to
made-
grave. What is it? It is a spy.
Not a
Okay, so it worked
mistake.
out. That was the
Nice.
correct play there.
Gravekeeper Spy. All right.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
tried and true.
Yeah, Balter would
Yeah,
not have outed
there-
the spy.
Yeah. There's one more card we're missing from Chaos format, which would make things a bit more interesting.
Well, when I look at formats, I generally don't try and think of like what is missing from them because I feel like that is a flawed way to look at these things that can get people sort of not enjoying the formats as much, right? Like this is something that I saw, like for instance, I saw someone talking about like Tengu Plant format, and they mentioned that
Breaker.
for them, Edison format felt incomplete, like an incomplete version of Tengu Plant. And that's what
I know
people
exactly
feel,
what you're
but, like,
talking about.
I'm not speaking
Like,
of it in
wow.
that way.
No, well, you mentioned that there's one thing that
TCG
the Chaos
formats
format's missing.
are their own beasts. That I'm just saying, like the OCG just had more cards, but this was also a card that was played.
in the OCG.
It made
Well, I mean,
Demok
to be fair, I didn't think
much
the OCG
easier
had
to
less
summon.
cards.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it made
again, it's
Demok
like,
much
it's
easier to
talking about a
summon.
different format.
Oh
is
my
the- is the
gosh.
thing I
It's
take
somewhat
issue with
different
here.
format.
Yeah, no. Obviously, obviously, while you're probably not referring to Dedication to Lightwood and Darkness, the greatest card ever.
Oh, I
made.
did mention that.
Magical
Totally did not
Dimension is
regret
better.
putting into my deck. I know. I
Magical
totally do
Dimension
not
is
regret.
better.
Wait, did you play it in the deck or no? I couldn't.
Yeah, I actually did. I was like, you know what? I have 3 of this card, but I felt like honestly, I think it made more sense to just play it in like a deck that's more focused on the Dark Magician stuff, and I'll probably just. That was one of the cards I knew I was going to probably replace for like one of the jars at least to speed
you
up the deck.
Have you considered
do
this
something
combo?
with that.
Have you considered this combo?
Like-
Fusion Gate into Paladin, Dimension Fusion out Dark Magician and a Buster Blader. Actually, Fusion Gate into
And whatever
double
card-
Paladin, right? And then you get out 2 Dark Magician, 2 Buster
Hello.
Blader. Dedication of Light and Darkness out a Demok.
Hi,
Oh no,
Angmar.
it doesn't get banished afterwards. Or no, you'd have to banish them again for the 3rd one. Okay, this is getting too
God.
complicated of a combo. But
Have you
you're probably
considered
Yeah.
drawing
doing stuff
Exodia
in the-
turn 1?
I know. I'm like, that's the thing. That's like, it's way too like you're already probably doing a lot
Funny
Yeah.
thing.
by that point. to be
There's actually a
honest.
combo that works like this, but the card I was trying to talk about. Magical Dimension.
Yes, the card
Summon
that's released
Spellcaster.
in the Spellcaster structure deck much later. But again, like,
Mhm.
you know,
A bit later.
we can
They're
talk
saying
about-
summon Spellcaster.
like,
We'll
Magical
get there
Dimension
eventually,
after
Blah.
you
We
deal
know the
damage.
OCG.
oh, this is very smart and something I want to bring up in case you're not familiar with this ruling from things like Goat, for instance. You can, if you snatch steal an opponent's monster and then you summon out something like Tsukiyomi to flip it down, the monster will indeed stay on your side of the field after snatch is gone.
Nice.
Yes.
So that is something
Yeah.
very
As I
good
was-
to know for people wanting to potentially play this format. And
Yeah, as I was trying to say, I'm sorry for interrupting.
well, the reason why I sort of cut you off there
Yeah.
is because like I personally feel like that is not really a productive sort of thing to do in discussing these formats.
I'm not even talking about that anymore.
Okay, I assumed
I'm
you were.
actually talking about a combo with Dedication through Light and Darkness and the card I mentioned in Magical Dimension.
So you are talking about
It's a much smoother combo.
That's yeah. You are talking football still, is what I'm saying. But anyway,
Somewhat,
let's
but not
focus on
really.
the game here. It looks like Dumptruck is going for the snatch steal on the Warrior Lady, which is kind of an interesting decision, but I do get it because Tsukiyomi can flip down the breaker, attack into the breaker, and then if they had the Warrior Lady as follow up as well, they could get in for a fair bit of damage. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
they're only then effectively they have like you just know that they only have one card that you have to worry about as opposed to like two in that
Multiples?
case. Yeah.
But
yeah.
it is a tricky spot. Like Dumptruck is definitely up on cards, and PJ, there's the Sook in hand, and there's one unknown. Actually, did we see a
Yeah.
serpent out of PJ?
Or
No.
I think out of maybe Dumptruck. Maybe Dumptruck had the serpent. Because I
Okay.
feel like that would make more sense.
looks like
PG plays the serpent in deck.
Okay.
Cool.
And welcome Izuna Gaiden.
Okay.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So, yeah, Sook. I feel like I would have switched this. I would have switched the order here. I would have attacked with Sook over the breaker first, and then fired creature swap to take control of the Warrior Lady.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Probably
actually so much
best.
better. Yeah.
Because then you're still gaining the 1,000.
Yeah.
You've got the Warrior Lady, and you're feeling pretty good about that. But
They have to do something about that.
But I
Oh,
guess
while
Yeah,
he's here,
Ah,
he's
Yes.
European. So let's bring up something European of Yu-Gi-Oh!
uh,
Chaos format's the format where they basically
that's-
made them catch up.
4,500. In Europe, you mean? Like where
Yes.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
didn't release.
Technically a TCG format, I suppose.
Yeah. Well.
Yes,
the
no,
thing
they
is
made
that,
them catch up in the sense of like in the OCG they'd released
Oh.
everything up to Labyrinth of Nightmare.
That is brutal.
Decided they couldn't do that anymore, and then like May 1st or so
And September-
decided that every card would be legal
Oh wait.
up to release.
That's a
Wh-
pretty
when-
big change for the European side of things.
Hey.
Raigeki of their own. on the
Rageki
suit.
versus Rageki.
Kind of
Let's go.
interesting if you're setting another monstrous follow up. Like, do you even want a Raigeki there, or do you want to save the Raigeki? Because the suit can't really do anything after that, unless PJ commits another monster to board and flips it up. Like,
Yeah.
I
Oh
feel like
my
maybe the Raigeki is
God.
not the right choice. Oh,
Ah.
and
Oi.
for
This is what
PLS
chaos
there.
format's all about.
So,
Like, oh
yeah,
my
Yeah.
goodness.
and this is-
Oh,
I mean, this is potentially why you hold the Raigeki, because now you've got a way to deal with the BLS. I mean, Painful Choice can potentially draw you away into that BLS to get rid of it, but I don't know. I'm not sure if there are 5 cards left in deck that can deal with it. I mean, let's see. Change of Heart, Ring of Destruction. Those are 2 that win the game for you.
CED deals with it too.
Yep, CD will... Well, CD won't quite deal enough damage. It will only deal...
Yeah.
No, it'll
Exile.
clear the
Yeah.
Well,
BLS.
It'll,
Yeah, we
it'll
like-
clear the BLS,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about things
PJ's
that win
back
the
in
game.
danger.
Yeah,
You
but
can
that
use,
is the
PJ's back
point.
in danger.
So CD probably isn't a bad option here as well.
Yeah, I think at this point we just want to like not die to BLS.
Let's see.
You can
Yes.
That
you can
too.
try to add Exile
Uh-huh.
or to Rota too.
Yep.
Technically, if we
Or maybe
play-
Ring
play
to
Chaos
Rota,
Sword,
1
right?
Exile and
There's
Mhm.
Ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, ring.
Reart.
So Ring is
So
one
why
of the game
send it?
winners. Yeah,
It's not
so
being
Okay,
picked.
okay, yeah.
That's not being picked.
Well, CD
I
might
guess
be
Dark
picked
Hole
given
would be.
Oh,
depending on what
oh,
else is
Dark Hole.
sent. But
Dark Hole too.
Tribe.
Okay, yeah.
I feel
That
like you
does
give
it.
Yeah,
him
Tribe
CD
might be
over
picked.
Tribe probably. Yeah, you give CD over Tribe as you're taking less damage with CD, and Dumptruck is damaging themselves
Yes.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not.
Or
less
change of
damage.
heart,
CD
too.
could just crash
Heck.
as well. If Dumptruck
Yeah.
has
Yeah, that's what I was
monster
trying
hand.
to say. CED is dropped and just crashes, and
Yeah.
PJ's back to top decking.
Yeah, well, it depends
There's-
on what Dumptruck has in hand and on field. Raigeki
Okay.
Break, I think,
Yeah.
is
Raigeki
choice.
Break
You just give him Raigeki
Technically
Break.
does it, yeah.
Yeah, but Raigeki Break's the best for PJ here because it does it on PJ's turn.
Yeah.
And also
Yeah.
it
Gives
does
him a
cost Dumptruck
turn.
a card, which
Mhm.
we know.
Also
Serpent's
doesn't
fun.
immediately kill them, which is nice.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's why I mentioned like it depends on the 5 that you send because there are.
Yeah,
there
Let's
are
see
now
what
varying
PJ
outcomes.
top decked.
Yeah, they'll
So,
top deck into their
another-
one my body is a shield right here, you know.
That would still be live.
What?
Unfortunately,
Rageki Break said I never expected it.
yeah. Oh, and a Thunder
Ah,
Dragon.
it's
We did indeed see the Thunder Dragon, yeah, because that got banned.
Okay.
All right,
Um,
both players top decking.
Yep. Looks like painful choice
Oh!
here for
Alright.
PJ, and that can help PJ out of
Nice.
it. I don't think they have as many
Wait.
instant win buttons as Dump Truck did, but this can help them deck them
All
and
I'm
help them get a body on board to not die. You know the Change of Heart and the Snatch Heal are both gone at this point.
Oh,
Now,
wait.
We got Chaos
Truly.
Engrave.
Yeah.
now, well, the
guys,
thing
A
is
light
that
in the
Dump
dark.
Truck's probably not going to give them chaos, right? Like,
uh,
No. It is just deck thinning to draw into that monster
well,
Kaiku.
about
while getting a
about
monster.
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
Regeki Break, Phoenix is not in this format.
Yep. It is not in this format yet. That'll
Sacred
Oh, okay.
Flaming
Phoenix of
Eternity.
Nephitis isn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
That's what you're
cause,
talking about.
cause if you regard the God format on Perfect Cycle, the reason for my question is Regeki Break is cool, but Phoenix has better.
Mm.
Is the reason why. So no Phoenix in this format is after.
Oh, Phoenix Wing
Yeah, I
Wind
think
Blast.
it's
Yeah, that's also after. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
another.
Flaming
It's a
Eternity.
little more than a
Really
year
good.
away now.
Yeah.
Actually, a little less.
Yeah. In my coverage, it will be
It's
shorter,
in
so
March.
don't worry out there, people who want to see Phoenix
Yeah.
Wing Wind Blast action.
Oh, Phoenix
Yeah.
Wing.
but-
Oh.
Believe me, you're
Yeah.
gonna be seeing a lot of Wing Blast in the future. It's not going away.
Oh, and the IO as well set there.
Oh.
This is very formidable for
Dang.
Dump Truck. I mean, we know that Dump Truck has one Thunder Dragon in hand, I believe. That is the card in hand. We don't know what the set is there, but DD Worley will be able to clear it. PJ paying that 7 because, they don't want Dump Truck to top deck like Reborn or anything like that.
Oh.
And I mean, there's
Oh,
I
that's
feel like
bad.
you gotta banish it.
Right. I think
he
like all the Thunder.
does,
Yeah,
he-
there's another. Yeah, there's.
But,
Opens
it is
himself
good
up.
to think it through though, so I don't begrudge
Yes.
them thinking here. As
Yeah.
it's a
Basically,
very worrying
PJ
position, dangerous position.
Yeah, PJ only has one more turn to pay for Imperial Order before he has to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they can like search Fiber Jar
They will.
out of
and
the
Oh,
deck.
there it goes.
Banish there.
So
Now the risk is
Yeah.
they don't have any monster on field now, so if Dump Truck draws a monster here, attacks in, and deals that 1100, that's a big risk for PJ. But it looks like they're just gonna set one pass back to PJ here. Now, does PJ pay or do they let it go? That's the question. And
Depends on
Yeah.
what's in hand.
it's very tricky, but they are indeed going to pay
Don't
there.
have to worry
and just
about
pass
Wing
back to
now.
Dump
Oh
Truck
my
saying if you get a
lord.
monster either way, I'm dead here. So it won't matter there. But I need to keep this
Here we
up to
go.
stop
So
things like
Io has
Reborn
to
or
go.
something like that. Yep. The
Mhm.
IO is gone now. And we shall see what PJ does, but they might be bricked up on things. If they're bricked up on like Marionette, that would be unfortunate, of course. Looks like there's
Nope,
going to
not
set
bricked.
one.
He has
Yeah.
something,
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
but that might just be
doesn't really do
Serpent
anything here,
or a
maybe.
small monster like Sangan.
Yep, or Serpent
Mhm.
potentially as well. Reborn.
that's
for
game.
Oh
PLS
no.
Really?
probably be game here, unless the
Yeah.
set is something like Fiber Jar, potentially Cyber Jar. But it looks like Dump Truck is going to banish that. Play it
Oh,
smart.
it was
That is the
Apprentice.
right choice.
Whoa.
Summing
Yep.
out Thunder
And
Dragon
yeah.
will be the end of the game there. Very good
There we
lines from
go.
Dump Truck. Thunder Dragon showing that, while it may be viewed as an empty card advantage card, it can indeed come up and potentially win the game if it has
Mhm.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Thunder
It's
Dragon being a
useful.
tribute monster is really nice when everybody is playing like Change of Heart and Snatch Steal as well, just in case.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thunder Dragon sees a lot of use from this
There's a
point
reason
on,
why
I
it's in
guess.
like every Chaos Turbo deck in GOAT, right?
Yeah.
Partially. It's also deck thinning. Like the empty
Well, that's
advantage
why-
is
that's-
really,
that's why
really
it's in
good.
Chaos
Mhm.
Turbo, yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
It's
Yeah.
really
the
good
turbo
with
part
the
of the deck.
charity, especially.
Yeah.
And card destruction too. That's the
Yep.
other thing as
But-
well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why it's turbo, because Thunder Dragon gets you cards in hand, gets you lights in grave. Very, very good card in the turbo deck. But
Gets you everything you need.
yeah,
Yeah.
game 2. We'll have to see what happens here.
It's hard to side for this kind of format,
Yeah,
mostly because
honestly, like a lot of the decks are sort of like pre-sided against the strategies that are going to show up. Like that's why a lot of decks are playing Kaiku, for instance. But there are some things you can do. Like for instance, if you're going first versus second, you can potentially side in the hand rips if you have them out of the deck. If you're going second, you can side out of the hand rips, for instance, if you
Oh.
want to. Side into things like Nobleman if you've got them in the side instead of the main. So
And
know,
there's
I feel
also the
like-
trusty side deck cards as well, just in case you're facing something else. Like
yeah, well, that's
Royal Decree
yes,
is always a plus to have
yeah, and
in
that's why
case
you have
Burn
them
shows up.
in the side deck there. But for this matchup specifically, is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
because
I'm just saying the side
Hmm.
deck is basically we're back to 2002, 2003. The side deck is basically for specific matchups
yes,
instead
that
of
is,
Mhm.
yes, that is what the side.
I
deck
mean
is
specific
for.
types of matchups.
Yes, that's what the side
Yeah.
deck
Not
is for.
specific
yes.
types of decks.
You don't have to explain that there.
Mhm.
I do think it is interesting though. Talking about the side deck. There is an interesting thing to discuss. Oh, MST on the Mirage gotta hurt. But there's an interesting thing to discuss where, like, in the beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh's history, the side deck was a lot more nebulous because there weren't as many specific types of decks that you could potentially face in the game.
Here comes
for a
turn.
meta hit.
Wow,
Oh, the MST
That's
was
that's
firing it
crazy.
not at the end phase. Oh wow, that's a
Yes.
yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah, no, that's why you
Uh-oh.
save the MST for the M phase, I guess.
Yes.
Because you just prevent PJ from doing something here. But these are common things that can happen, like mistakes that might
Punished.
show up.
Yeah.
But yeah. And it
Well,
looks like we got a T set.
nice
He might have
seeing
sided into
Rosinized
goat
them.
control.
Yeah,
I almost
or
feel
maybe
like
they were on it to begin with. That's the question. I mean, if you're playing the Apprentice package,
Yeah.
you're getting out like Magician of Faith more often. Maybe you want to play the meta. Maybe that's why Magical Marionette's played as well, because Magical Marionette's a 5, and you could potentially go into something like, a Dark Balter, and that's very good as well. So very interesting and innovative deck on PJ Darkness's part here.
I wonder if
Definitely.
Dump Truck
Yeah.
is suffering from like too many monsters in hand, because we have seen one spell,
Yeah.
Here
And,
comes Thunder Dragon.
like one trap or a back row.
Yep, that's true, and
Yeah.
it could very well be the issue there.
He can't.
Well, there's Change
here we
of Heart,
go.
and you got the Thunder Dragon tribute over that Thousand Eyes. Now the question is, do you go all in here? Do you tribute out the Thunder Dragon, then switch the Spy to attack and get in for 28, or do you just hit in for 16, playing around TT? It looks like Dump Truck is going to just hit in for 16, play around TT. Set was presumably a
set.
Thunder Dragon, and pass back to PJ there.
They both now each have a light and a dark.
That's
All
All
true.
right,
Oh.
now
Another reason
we just
for
need
meta.
to flip over. We just need to flip over the surprise sighted in Guardian Sphinx, and it's
Yeah.
over.
Oh.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
spell and trap zone.
But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll clear that. And now there are 2 lights
Oh, no.
and 2 darks for Dump Truck. So got 2 Chaos Monsters online potentially here versus PJ's 1.
Yeah. Like that's a pretty good trade for Dump
Oh.
Truck there in that
Reborn
regard
here.
from Dark Hole.
And the question is,
Wait,
what do you
actually,
He has
do?
no
meta
targets.
A little bit awkward.
So he has to go
Gotta bring out a
for.
1600. I'd probably bring
Yeah,
out
he
has to-
Thunder Dragon if you're doing that.
Mhm.
Yep, and they are indeed bringing out
What?
Thunder Dragon.
Ooh.
Now, this has a couple
No
of
Apprentice
advantages.
Magician.
It takes a light out of grave. It also potentially is a metamorphosis target because it's level 5, so you can go into like Dark Balter. So I do think that this was the right play to do off of the Reborn, but it looks like
Oh,
a
never
It's all
mind.
for Marionetter. Yay!
2,000. Yeah, the original Marionetter. And this is it's
Marionette.
decent. Like, I mean, it's cool to see. Like, a lot of people basically say in this format, the only tribute monsters you should be playing are like Thunder Dragon, Jinzo, or Hades because those are the highest impact. But it's cool to see this sort of innovation. And Marionette, if it's able to go off, it can be very good. The issue with
Marionette is a monarch if you just squint like a lot.
yeah,
if you just
it's 400 off.
Just
little
gotta
bit.
play
400
a ton
off,
of
not
spells,
a
you know?
not an on summon effect, you know.
Okay.
2
Also,
spells, it's
with
a
all the
monarch, you know?
powerful spells.
Yeah, it's a monarch, exactly.
Yeah, with all the
Uh,
power. Funny thing. It gets its
God.
effect. It gets
What?
its effect off of 2 counters. Yes.
Change of heart.
Yeah.
What's its attack when that happens?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's 2400.
Yeah, it is. It is
But,
literally a monarch.
Yeah.
And painful choice here. Also
Oh.
getting that second counter on Marionette. Now, of course, Marionette can't pop back row, so that is unfortunate for
It
PJ
should
here.
be.
If
Can't
only.
just, hit that back row before going in. But change.
It's a weaker
choice is gonna be really
Zaborg.
good here.
Sadly, we cannot have nice things.
Oh, Sea Spirit brings up a good point. Upstart was limited to keep Marionette in check. Good. I mean, with Upstart,
True.
Marionette would just be too powerful.
No,
Ah.
come on.
Instant
It was all
counters.
no. It was all.
Yeah,
it was all
that-
meant for
that-
skill dark. Come on, baby. They didn't want Dark Magician winning. They,
Well, I
they
mean, what do
hated.
you
Yeah,
think's in
I
the same
think-
deck? It's all the counters, you know.
Yeah,
The
I'm pretty
See-
sure. I'm pretty sure the spell counter deck like really scared them, so that's why they did it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It is a-
that deck was doing.
Surprisingly, it was kind of scary. Just not in the way you'd think.
I mean, look at that art. You know, what are the counters? Are they, you know,
Yeah.
parasites
Can I just
sucking
say,
magic from
Magical
things?
Marionette has some of the sickest art in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's so
Yeah.
cool.
I also love that
It
the
really
monster
does.
is not the puppeteer; it's the marionette. Like, it is a
The
Oh my
puppeteer
god,
in the
you're right.
background.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
It's
not.
like
It's not like magical puppeteer. It's magical marionette. Like the
Yeah.
marionette is the thing.
Now I do think they
Yes.
missed an
Yeah.
opportunity here. They could have made the puppeteer for marionette. They could have made it the mysterious puppeteer. But unfortunately, those two
True.
cards are just two different puppeteers in the Yu-Gi-Oh universe.
They also, God, if only they had some sitter. They don't.
They don't. They don't have any synergy.
No.
But yeah, one's also a warrior, one's a
I know.
spellcaster. But you know what makes
One is
mysterious
also
puppeteer mysterious?
playable. The other one is.
Oh,
no.
puppeteer's playable, just not in this format.
Again, you know what? Define playable because
Hold on.
Silly
You're gonna.
Snake.
Okay.
You can play
can-
Silly Snake if you want to.
again, define playable.
Oh my god.
Silly Snake.
You
Oh
can
my
put
goodness.
it is a deck or it is a card that you can put in
Uh,
your deck and you can summon it.
Marionette should have
Right.
2400.
Ultimate offering.
Oh yeah, that's actually true. You know that could matter. The 200
does-
damage
Well, also because it's got a
Oh.
counter for
gives yeah.
Wait, that 200 damage actually will matter.
yeah,
that
it could
card-
matter for C. Yeah, it could actually matter. And that's actually could be important. Hold on.
yeah.
Mhm.
Someone probably should message them about that.
Mm. So-
Mario.
Oh, Mario.
Mario, yes.
It's a him.
It's
Mario.
a him or
Mario.
Now, is Magical Marionette
Yeah.
well, I mean, the gender doesn't really matter for this card, but you know, would it show up on the
Uh-huh.
Wikipedia, you know,
The
gendered
Joke.
list?
I just
Can
flew
someone-
way over your head.
Can someone put like a mustache on Magical Marionette?
Yeah.
That's the
Yo,
question.
Mario.
We
I
can't.
mean,
His hands cover it.
That's
His hands
who's
cover it.
controlling Marionette, Mario. This is
Actually,
actually
you know
a-
what?
I do think we need
Yeah,
more
the
gender
hands are
neutral
covering it.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards like Marionette. you know.
True.
Third
Yeah.
counter. 2600 attack.
I think it's cool when a card is just the thing, you know.
Just making it harder to beat
Can
over.
I just say, I thought Gravekeeper Spy was a guy for the longest time, and just like a year ago, I found out that no, it is in fact just a dude.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I mean, it's ambiguous though in a way. Like, it could be a girl. It's not like specified.
Right?
Yeah.
But
They usually tell you though.
I think
Maybe I was
think
gaslit.
the fact I think most of the things on the like
Oh,
Oh,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
there's the
woman
dark
list
hole.
is like
The Yu-Gi-Oh woman
it-
list is crazy.
I mean, listen, I think that list is like mainly fraudulent. Like it's mainly just, you know,
Yeah.
I think mainly people with too much time on their hands, just trying to like, I don't know, like I don't want to,
They
you know,
they're really
The
really
female list
preparing for
exists
when.
because of the video games. That was an actual thing in them.
I'm not sure the female.
Well,
list
that-
it was an actual thing that Konami made in the video games.
Yes, female was a thing.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
just
thinking they were
assumed-
trying to prepare for like the Duelist Kingdom, you know, like there's that whole thing with Mai and Shadow of Eyes and Mystical Elf. I thought that was like maybe that's their plan. They're planning for the secret new Yu-Gi-Oh mechanic that will come in 2020.
But basically, the
Oh, I'm glad
female
the mechanic
list,
never caved.
yeah.
the female list just got expanded over time because we got so many females.
But added
Well-
by the fan base, right? Not by Konami.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
where I think
Specifically-
it might be-
No.
To be clear, Chad, this is not an
Oh.
official Konami
Really?
list.
Yeah, it's a wiki list,
No.
so but let's
Yeah.
get back to talking about the
Aw.
games rather than creepy fan lists.
It ended.
I mean, technically, Magical Marionette won.
It did. Yes.
Technically.
yeah. Marionette
Yeah.
won, but unfortunately, yeah. But yeah, that Reborn, the Dark Hole into Reborn is
Yeah.
rough. Yeah, I mean, PJ had to
Crazy.
play into it, right? Like
Welcome
you
to
gotta.
DM.
Sometimes you just gotta play into things, even if you know they're there. But yeah,
Lovely Doe says, I'm a female. Shout outs.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to all the women out there, and
Hi, Doe.
like sorry if that convo made you a bit uncomfortable, but
Going to be participating in the tournament too.
yeah, we welcome all kinds
That's
here.
Doe.
And the more people playing, the better, in my opinion. So, whatever genders, whatever whatever you are, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is a space that can include you.
No
So-
gender is exempt from getting CED burned to death. That's all I'm gonna say.
True. Yes.
There we go.
That's what the ruling said, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Very, very good games there. Yeah. And Justice Punch says, in some of the spin-off games, fusions were more general, like Thunder Dragon equals a thunder and a dragon. So few monsters were a mechanic for fusion. Oh, that also makes some sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
well,
as much as fusion, I think the fusions did make more sense in like Forbidden Memories and things like that. But yeah. But very, very good stuff here. While we have our sort of final chat, if like Dump Truck and PJ want to dive in here, I'm going to put on the replay that we actually missed because the watching was not turned on. So I'll just put this on in the background while, we sort of have our final discussion here. If PJ and Dump Truck want to join us. But yeah, this was a really fun locals. It makes me really excited for the upcoming Chaos tournament starting tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. And if this locals piqued your interest, then head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server. And the link is in the stream description. And it should be a blast. But let's see if we can get PJ or Dump Truck here.
And if y'all think there wasn't enough spice in this local, maybe you should join the tournament with some spice of your own and prove us wrong.
Exactly. Be the change you want to see. That's what I always say. But yeah, we'll see if they're going to join here or not. Hello, welcome.
One
to
of them
the
joined.
stream.
Hello, Soul.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, that was,
Hello.
Zuna Guy,
Food.
I think.
Never mind.
So we didn't quite get anything.
It's only
Yeah,
food.
Ash in the heat, bring in the heat. Yeah, anyone can bring the heat, and you never know when the heat will get too hot for the metagame. And upend
like
everything
literally,
you
if
think.
please someone just bring Grand Maji. It's not gonna do well, but it's gonna
Yes.
be so cool.
It's a fire monster.
Yes.
That's the heat.
Yeah, come on. Well, there's honestly a way
Dump
you could
Truck.
do
Oh,
it,
yeah, Dump Truck. Welcome.
Congrats.
Congratulations on your Chaos win there. So we saw that you faced some very interesting decks over the course of that tournament, but were you on some spice of your own that you want to shout out here before the big tournament tomorrow that you think is either underrated or, maybe that like people might not be considering that you think should be played? If you're saying something, we can't hear you, by the way.
There's no blah.
Rip.
I guess we'll never know.
Rip. Okay, it looks like they're probably gonna
Yeah.
try jumping back in after fixing their audio
Great.
setup.
Can you
but-
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Okay, good. Did not bring anything out of the ordinary. Very straightforward list.
Okay. Now, since Straightforward has a couple different meanings, did you bring Yata in the main deck? I'm curious about that.
Oh, I see. No, I didn't.
Okay, and what were your thoughts on that? Because we did see some Yata Locks happen on stream multiple times tonight. And of course, the Chaos Yata
Did we?
combo is looming in the back of people's minds. So what are your thoughts on Yata in this format?
Since I've started playing this, I haven't seen all that many chaos monsters come down. It's not even necessarily a one in a game thing. So to be able to get the, say the CED on board with a critter on the field and rely on that as a combo, that seems pretty rare. And Yata setting you behind on field can be a real problem. Those are my thoughts on it.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's one of the cool things, like I mentioned in the guide, that like with historical reexamination, people have sort of cooled on Yata a bit, where they're not even playing it in the decks, and I think that you summed up why. And I'm curious to see what the decks in tomorrow's tournament bring. Like, if they do decide to, actually play Yata, or if they decide to pivot away from it for more consistency. Now, another card I wanted to hear your thoughts on was Nobleman of Crossout, because Nobleman of Crossout is a card that a lot of people debate, like, do you keep it in the main deck? Do you save it for the side deck? Were you playing Nobleman, and what was your thoughts on the card?
I was siding 2, and when I sided it in, it didn't tend to do all that much.
So maybe
I don't know.
they
It's a
overrated-
tough question.
One moment.
I really
please.
don't know. I'd like to hear what everybody else thinks, to be honest.
Yeah, and
like, I think the allure of Nobleman is like, especially like early game, when you're facing like what you presume is like a spy or recruiter. That's when you want to see it. But often I feel like the back and forth with it comes down to like when you see it late game, it's like it can be okay, but you often have to pair it up with something else, and you're gonna have less resources to do that in the late game compared to the early game in that
Look,
regard. But yeah.
I think that Nobleman of Crossout is the worst card ever when it's in my hand and my opponent's not setting monsters. But when they use it against me effectively, it's the most broken card in the world, personally.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting card. Like, for me
Mhm.
personally, I like to play it in the side and then bring it in for game 2. Because game 2, it's so powerful. It's kind of like, if you go first and open a hand rip, that's how I feel like if you open Nobleman going second. Because the common play that people do is they just, set a monster, set a smaller trap, and pass, right? And with
Mhm.
Nobleman, you get rid of their monster. It could be a Sangan, a Witch. It could be something like a Spy even. And that could be very, very good. But I wanted to ask
You also don't risk.
about the spies, because we did see you play Spy, and Spy is more of a staple now than it was in the past. But and we talked about its power over the course of this. But what's your opinion on Spy as well?
I like it a lot. So many of these turns are just summoning Warrior Lady or summoning Kaiku and attacking, and Spy beats that, which is nice. It also, searches out more darks, which is not necessarily easy. It's hard to get lights and darks in the grave in this format.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's something that like a lot of decks are trying to do. I mean, that's why Painful Choice is such a good card. And that's why people are playing Shining Angel, despite how bad Shining Angel is into DD Warrior Lady. Sometimes you need it. And I'm curious to see if people will like start playing Merchant and things like that in addition.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Something I'm wondering about on the light side is Shining Angels versus Thunder Dragons. It seems like you more or less play one or the other. I gave Thunder Dragons a try tonight and it went okay, but what do we all think about that?
I think that honestly, I prefer the Thunder Dragons as well. And we saw in your game against PJ that did come up, taking an opponent's monster, tributing out a Thunder Dragon, attacking in for game. Or no, that was reborning your own BLS, using its banish effect, then tributing out Thunder Dragon, attacking in for game. But either way, it shows the versatility that a card like Thunder Dragon can have, even if it is empty advantage a lot of the time. So
I think it just like B-Sox is saying, like just it being able to do the effect by itself, it doesn't have to rely on like your opponent attacking into it or you having to crash. Makes it, I think, a little bit easier to use. And like I think especially if it is a more turbo style deck, it's why that deck is able to take advantage of Thunder Dragon very well, is because they want those lights and darks as quickly as possible to get to their chaos monsters as live in that regard.
There was actually a moment in my duel against Soul where I had Kaiku in grave and I had both my chaos monsters in hand, and that was with the double Dark Paladin. And I was like, if I draw Thunder Dragon here, like I literally just wipe both of them with BLS, and it's suddenly I'm in the driver's seat.
I mean, you can also
didn't
fail to
happen, but like
find-
that's the power.
You can fail to find a
True.
Thunder Dragon too. So if you do have 2 Thunder Dragons in your hand, you just need a light. Like let's say your opponent summoned out a Kaiku earlier in the game and banished your first one. You can just pitch the Thunder Dragon, shuffle your deck, and then get a light engrave that way.
Yeah.
So I really like Thunder Dragon. And speaking of Thunder Dragon, this is maybe a more controversial question. What do people think of Delinquent Duo in this format? I mean, we were talking about, the various effectiveness of these different hand rips because, Trap Dust Shoot came up in some of the games. And like you have like Comfy, you have Forceful, but Duo, the fact that you don't get a choice, the fact that your opponent can set up things like Thunder Dragon, Engrave, and the fact that they could just have Serpent as well. Also, you're losing 1,000 life points. Like, do we think Duo
You don't even
is
get
worth
hand
main
knowledge.
decking?
I don't
I
like
think
it.
it's still too good. It's too good to cut.
Yeah, I think
I've been the biggest Duo hater, honestly. Like, just now, like to me, if I could just go first every single time, then you know what, sure. But I don't know. Just to me, like going second is just not as great compared to like
I think
at
Duo
least the other
is
two. Yeah.
probably like if you're gonna do anything, you might as well just side it when you're going first to make sure that you draw a hand rip or increase your chances.
Yeah. And that's where
Yeah.
I sort of fall with it as well. Like, I think it's good in the side, but main deck, I've sort of been cooling to it more and more. But I think that these, like, you can have both opinions for this and be reasonable about it. Like, I could definitely see people arguing for the Duo in the main deck. I could definitely see people arguing for Duo in the side deck or not in the deck at all. I think it's an interesting sort of thing that people haven't really considered as much in this format. And that's one of the reasons why, even if like it does turn out that this format is tier 0, as people assumed it was in the past, I think there is a lot to explore here, because when a metagame has been quote unquote solved, it can lead to a lot of very interesting optimizations along the way. So I think that, no matter how Chaos format turns out, there's going to be a lot of interesting things to explore in it, and I'm just excited to explore. Before I, bring the stream to a close, I want to mention some of the comments that were here in the chat I didn't get to before. Justice Punch says, I thought that Despair from the Dark and Fear from the Dark would be good, but after seeing these games, I'm seeing that CED is more rare than we remember. And yeah, I think that is a very good point. Like, Despair and Fear would be really good into CED, but like, if your opponent drops CED, you might just be losing anyways. As like, if they use it as a finisher, for instance. And until that point, Despair and Fear are kind of dead in your hand. I mean, Fear isn't technically dead because you can bring it out, but Despair is definitely a bit of a brick. But it definitely is an interesting idea, though. And against things like Duo, it can potentially be live. So I'd be curious to see.
People were even
that.
Talking about like Neko Main King. Like,
Yeah. Ending the
Yeah.
turn. And that's another
Yeah.
funny sort of tech that you can do, and it's something interesting. But I think it remains to be seen how good that is. And my personal thoughts here after seeing these games and looking at what people have done in the format since then is that it probably won't be quite worth it because it just doesn't happen enough, as you say. But it is definitely interesting.
Yeah.
And
Actually, I just was wondering, what was the stat line for Fear? Is it
Fear
like? Is it
1800
under?
it's
and
like
something else.
17 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, or 17.
Yeah, because basically, if it's able to be brought off of Turtle, it can basically just be like regenerating money before that comes out for zombies. So
it can definitely be
if
brought
people
out
are
off
interested
of
in,
Turtle.
Yes.
yeah,
1700, 1500.
Okay.
You can
yeah,
also search it off of Witch if you need to.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah,
So
it's like,
anyone's interested in like chaos zombies type stuff, then that's something you could do. You know.
Yeah.
Oh,
in that regard.
Fear from the Dark is cool. You can play Mummy too. I don't know if Mummy is allowed in Chaos.
I think the Mummy is not quite out yet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
But
think
I
it's supposed to be next set. Actually,
I
Oh,
was thinking
wait.
it comes out in AST, yeah. But
wait,
I could be wrong.
Chaos Forma is same time of the structure deck Zombie, the first
I
with
think,
Vampire Genesis.
yeah, I think that
Oh,
comes
no,
out later.
That's a while
Oh,
yeah.
from
oh,
now.
is after.
I think that's 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
regenerating mummy is in the next half of this block.
So in
So
Where Ancient
Warriors
Sanctuary
Forma.
is legal.
Sanctuary. Okay, gotcha.
So Warrior Forma.
Yeah, Warrior format is legal. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's an interesting idea, and I'm curious to see what the zombie deck will do in this format because Ryukoki is out, and that will sort of breathe new life into experimenting with the zombie deck. Although it remains to be seen how good it is, given Triple DD Warrior League does host that deck a bit. But it'll be interesting to see. History Warrior 1 replies, IOC format will have more CDs and stuff, and we will cover IOC format after going through Chaos proper. Lovely Doe says, I want to see a Yata Lock with the CED and Sand/Witch, and I'd like to see that too. I think I will be trying to pull that off in a video, because, I mean, that would just be iconic to actually pull off. but it might be harder than people think it is. So no promises on whether I'll actually pull it off, because I don't like staging duels. Like, I don't think that, having a script for a duel, like, and going through that, I don't think that's really as interesting or as helpful. But I will be trying to pull it off on my own, seeing if I can actually do it. So hopefully I'll be able to do it, but we'll have to see.
If
But,
it doesn't happen in chaos format, it'll maybe happen in IOC where you have a nice 3 CEDs.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
IOC will also be a fun time, just, spending a video or two on that. But
Total
that will
chaos.
be for the future. But, right now, we've had a fairly long stream, and it's been pretty fun. So I think I'm going to call it here, and, we'll have another local stream next week, not in chaos format, but in a different format. And that should be a lot of fun as well.
We
And the monthly
finally
tournament's starting
have it in
tomorrow,
the
so if you
format.
want to sign up for that, there is still time. Head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server in the description and join that tournament. It should be a lot of fun, and it should be a pretty big tournament as well. So I hope to see you all there, and until next time, I hope that you enjoyed as always, and I've been Ben from YGO from Zero. I'm signing off, so see you all next time.
See you later.